Happy Monday, degenerates. Welcome back. It is time for the Die Hard MMA podcast. We are back, baby. Hope you all had a wonderful and safe Thanksgiving weekend. I hope you guys got to spend some time with your friends, your family. Hope you didn't overdo it on the turkey. I'm a bit more of a ham guy myself, personally speaking, but we got fights, baby. We are back. And not only are we coming back to fights, but we're coming back to a pay-per-view. We got good fights. We got titles on the line. We've got number one contender implications. It's a big card this weekend, and I am pumped up to talk about it with you all. My guy Dream in the house. What is going on? We've got the Grateful Dude, Joe Free, Ryan Selected, Dixon Sider, Uncle Weezy in the house, MMAJB. We got Alan Graves. Jay, what's going on, everybody? Thank you all so much for being here this evening on the Home of Fight to go ahead and talk about UFC 310. I can't wait to get into this card with you guys. We've got 2 cards left to finish out 2024. I've gotten my ass whooped all up and down sideways the entire year, and we have got to get some stuff right going into the end of the year. And, you know, guys, I got to tell you, life just isn't always a fairy tale. You know, sometimes it's about getting a paycheck and keeping a gun out of your mouth. You know, sometimes life is going to make you drink a steaming hot frothy bowl of horse piss, and that's all you got to do. You just got to handle it and move on forward. That's what we're doing here on the show today. We're going to find our way back. We're going to claw our way up to the top, and that was hard to get out with a straight face. I don't know how Ron Burgundy does it. That's an Anchorman quote for those of you in the chat who didn't pick up on it. Let's get these House of Pain says let's get the degenerate juices flowing. And to help us out in that manner, I've got none other than Brady, my guy, DFS by the numbers, to hang out this evening. What are you? How you doing, Brady? How's it going?
Doing pretty good. Taking this show on short notice. I kind of feel like when Zachary Scroggin took a short notice fight against Eliza Zaleski dos Santos earlier this year. But unlike Zachary Scroggin, I'm not going to throw it. I'm not going to throw the fight. I'm going to give my best effort. And I'm ready. I'm prepared, ready to go. Taped all these fights. So I was more than happy to come on here and talk some fights with you.
You're the absolute man for filling in. You guys, we were supposed to have my boy Keg from Nuke the House on the show today, but I got to tell you what ended up happening. He apparently is sick, and he was like vomiting all over himself this morning. You know, sorry if it's TMI for everybody, but this would have been his 3rd show of the night. So picking my man up off the floor to do his NFL preview show, my podcast, and then also the live betting show tonight for the Monday Night Football game. It was just too much for him to handle while he's trying to keep himself from throwing up on camera. So we're cutting him a break. We're going to get him back on the show early 2025. Don't you worry. My boy Keg will be back around in no time. But in the meantime, Brady is our savior, flying in like Batman when we throw the bat signal up. And we appreciate you coming in here on short notice and saving the show, man.
Heck yeah. I mean, this card's really good. I think we got 2 really good cards to end the year. So looking forward to it.
All right. Sounds like a plan. Let's get right on into it, man. We have, you know what? I say let's get right on into it, but I am over here slacking and I'm not even queued up. How'd you do last week? Not last week, the week before last week. How'd you end up doing on the last card, man?
Yeah, I think I went down like less than like half a unit, maybe like a quarter unit. I didn't watch the fights. My plan was to stay up and watch like first couple fights until the road to UFC fights. I stayed up to like 2:45 in the morning. I had 15 minutes left, and I said, I can't take it anymore. I'm going to bed. So I went to bed. I woke up, and then I don't know what it is. Like it's hard for me to watch fights on a replay. Like I get some like anxiety. So I was like skimming through all the fights, and I watched them all with like an hour, 2 hours. So didn't get to watch them live, which sucked, but was able to sit back and watch a couple ones. I watched the Carlos Hernandez fight versus that one dude. I can't even pronounce his name. I had the fight doesn't go to decision in that fight. Carlos Hernandez 2-3. And that fight like gave me like a hernia. Like I couldn't believe the game plan from Hernandez. Like take this guy down. You have a massive advantage. But had Piotr Jan 4-5 decision at -125. Had Carlos Ulberg by decision at like +300, something like that. So had some good bets, some bad bets. But yeah, I wasn't able to catch the fights live, which kind of sucked.
I hear you. I made the mistake of waking up and watching, and I ended up reverse sweeping. So it was not a good day for me to go ahead and get up as early as I did to suffer basically through those fights. I would have been far happier waking up and just seeing the results at the end of it and, face palming and moving on with my day. But instead I was exhausted and half sleep drunk the entire rest of the day after taking an ass whooping. Longest walk of shame of my life, basically spending all of Saturday with family after something like that. So you did it right, man. You did it the right way, and I'm happy you at least got out unscathed. But I am all set, you guys. Now I've got us queued up and we're ready to go. So let's get into these fights. First fight of the night, we are kicking off with Kennedy Nzechukwu taking on Lukasz Brzeski. Heavyweights on the docket here, Brady. Apparently Kennedy is just sticking around at heavyweight. My boy got sick of 205. The weight cut was too bad. He moved up on short notice and absolutely destroyed everybody's favorite, Chris Barnett. My poor guy, I still feel bad for him and his knee blowing back out again. That fight probably wasn't going to end spectacularly for him in the first place, regardless of, the knee or not facing a tall, rangy fighter like Kennedy. But Kennedy, I guess, got a taste of glory here at 265 pounds, and he's turning it back around. His opponent, Lukasz Brzeski, is really having a tough time finding his footing here in the UFC. He's a little bit older. He got KO'd by Mick Parkin about 5 months ago. So this is kind of a short return for a guy that just took an absolute beating. And it was one of those bad KOs. It was one of those ones where you kind of feel like he should take maybe a little bit longer to make sure the brain is stable in his head. But he's coming back in here. I do like Brzeski's stand-up game. I do like the constant volume. I like the calf kick. He's kind of a aggressive, spammy type of fighter, constantly coming forward, but it almost seems like he lacks physicality at the UFC heavyweight level. He can get taken down. He works well getting back up. He's got decent cardio, but he just doesn't seem to be able to hack it at this level. Now, Kennedy, he was a standout at 205 early on, but he has really, really suffered in the last couple of outings. He's kind of taken the wind out of his sails a little bit in some of these last couple of fights here, but he's trying to revive his career up at 265. Man, the one fight that really kind of has me second guessing Kennedy at this point was the split decision loss to OSP. I have said for a long time now that you cannot trust Kennedy Nzechukwu as a favorite. If you're getting even money, if you're getting plus money, that's when you want him. If you can find a good angle for a prop, that's when you want him. But he's been a massive favorite in 3 of his last fights, and he's only won 1 of them, and that's over Chris Barnett, largely due to an injury. So I've got a real hard time with Kennedy Nzechukwu coming in here as yet again a massive, massive favorite over who is a legitimate heavyweight. Kennedy is about -650 right now, plus 420 the comeback on his opponent, Lukasz Brzeski. You guys, the show is brought to you by Bet Openly. If you look over there, you can get -540 on Kennedy. And then you also get plus 540 on the underdog, Lukasz Brzeski. The winner pays the 1% juice, but the line is equal on both sides. Everybody gets a better number. Link in the description below. Make sure you're checking out and using it. You'll be saving money long-term doing that. But even at 540, even getting $1 break on this price tag, man, I can't say that Kennedy is somebody who I want to be on. I am still fearful of this guy's chin. I cannot get the Da Woon Jung elbow through the guard scene out of my head where he completely blocks his opponent's strike, but he still gets hit hard enough for it to rock him and put him down. If he stays long, if he uses that teep kick, keeps the distance, I'm sure Kennedy can win this fight. And his opponent also coming off a brain-rattling KO. It definitely moves things in his favor. I'll pick Kennedy, man. Same thing as Chris Barnett. I will pick Kennedy to win this fight, but there's no way I'm putting my money on him at this price tag. What do you like here?
Yeah, some of the lines on this card are just gross, and this is the first one. Like, I feel like you can never trust Kennedy at -500, -600. He's pulled like so many stunts. Like, I'll never forget the Paul Craig where he was on his way to beating Paul Craig, gets triangle choke with like a minute left in the fight. There was like you mentioned, the Da Un Jung invisible elbow that somehow knocked him out. a Nikolai Negumereanu fight where he poked Nikolai in the eye 50 times. The getting knocked out by Dustin Jacoby in a minute wasn't the great look, and then losing to OSP as like a minus 700 favorite also wasn't a good look. But at the same time, it's like how can you take a shot on Lukasz Brzeski? I'm worried about Brzeski. I mean, this guy's getting knocked out by Mick Parkin. I never thought in a million years Mick Parkin would ever get a finish in the UFC, but Mick Parkin starched this dude, and he also got knocked out by Waldo Cortez Acosta, who I don't like that either. Yeah, because Waldo Cortez Acosta couldn't knock out Arlovsky, couldn't knock out Jared Vandera, Chase Sherman. So yeah, I mean, I think that Kennedy should win this fight. And in terms of attack in this fight, you don't want to lay like the minus 600. And typically with like a Kennedy fight, you look at like the 2-3. But this guy Brzeski is getting knocked out in round 1 by guys that I just don't think have a ton of power, like Mick Parkin. So I think it's probably Kennedy in the first or second round. I think he makes it look easy outside of like a massive stun. He should win this and probably look minus 600.
Yeah. I mean, he really probably should. I think Brzeski's going to have a real hard time with the range. Kennedy likes to make sure people are staying at the end of his shots. And I think a lot of that's out of fear. He does not like getting hit. So if these guys start trading in the pocket, your butthole's going to be clinched early at UFC 310. But I'm with you. I think Kennedy should probably win this thing. I would say by knockout. You know, man, I like to really target those sneaky Kennedy subs, especially now at heavyweight. He's fighting these bigger frame type of men. I think those standing, ninja chokes and high elbow guillotines, that kind of stuff, it really works well for him, but you got to rely on somebody closing distance and looking for a shot. I don't think Brzeski's going to be doing that. So yeah, I think it's knees and elbows and maybe like a step in elbow or something like that ends up taking Brzeski out of there.
Yeah, looks like Kennedy by knockouts minus 155. Kennedy inside the distance is minus 215. They're all over it. Yeah.
Man, if it was inside the distance, minus 170, I would say just play that instead of the KO. But man, getting up over minus 200s for the inside the distance, that's always a little greasy. I would stick with the KO at that point, I think.
Yep.
All right, guys, let's move on. Second fight of the evening, we've got Clay Guida, and he takes on my boy, Chase Hooper. You guys know me. This is a Chase Hooper podcast. I mean, we are all about team curly-headed fuck over here, and he's absolutely one of my favorite fighters, mostly because he's responsible for one of the biggest single night scores I've ever had in my life. If you guys don't know, there's a lot of moving parts here on this fight. Clay Guida is 42 years old. My boy Chase Hooper has a big time youth advantage on him. He's still just 25 years old. I feel like Chase Hooper's been around for a minute. I feel like he's been around forever now, but he's still not even in his physical prime. And since moving up to 155, I mean, this kid is just destined to be the king, you guys. It's time to embrace it. Understand that Chase Hooper is here to stay. And as he fills out that frame at 155 pounds, the kid's going to become dangerous. Clay Guida, though, the only way you finish this guy is by submission, Brady. He's got 11 submission losses on his record. Now, he does actually have 2 KO losses on his record, but those are hard to come by. And you go back and you look at some of his more recent some of his more recent fights. He got chin checked so many times. I had a submission prop, Joaquin Silva, when he fought him the last time. And Silva did everything he could to cash that prop for me with it, that jumping guillotine and stuff. And he clubbed and had Clay Guida hurt and rocked multiple times. This guy is first generation upright style caveman, and he's got a brick for a head. And Bryan Ortega is the only guy who's able to crack it. You have to be elite of the elite with explosive power to get Clay Guida out of there with strikes. And there's just not many people capable of that, even over the age of 40, which is absolute madness. The guy's entire career is built on being the little engine that could, and he's just got heart for days and keeps coming forward, biting down on the mouthpiece, throwing haymakers, and then diving on your legs and forcing you to grapple. The thing is, he's taken on a kid in Chase Hooper who I think can keep up in the cardio, who is bigger than him physically, and these guys have history. We just had a grappling match between the two of them, and Chase Hooper got Clay Guida out of there with a calf slicer like it was nothing. I mean, as soon as the fight hit the ground, Chase was all over Clay Guida's back. Chase transitioned to the legs. And as soon as he had the legs tangled up, it was apparent that Clay Guida had no idea what was going on. So first level sub defense, Clay's been working on it. Clay Guida's been working on it. He couldn't get the choke. He couldn't get the rear naked. But in the sport of MMA, you guys know that changes things up a little bit, right? Chase Hooper is known for getting on top of his opponents and raining down ground and pound. For a guy that is a build grappler, his best aspect of his game probably is the elbows that he throws when he's on top of people from his dominant grappling positions. So there's a chance Chase Hooper could become the third man to TKO Clay Guida, but it would obviously be more of a referee stoppage type of situation. Brady, I want to hear the interviews on this one, because Chase Hooper is a massive 10-1 favorite coming into this fight. And that sounds ludicrous, but at the same time, I kind of get it. I feel like he's got advantages pretty much everywhere in this fight. And Clay Guida's only path to victory really is a decision or one of those big clubbing overhands. Kind of a fluky KO would be the only other way that he wins this thing. I want to know where Chase's head is at. Because if Chase is doing the whole, run it back in MMA and I'll beat you the same way twice, like this is Chase by submission, easy peasy. But if he wants to beat him both ways, notch the sub and the KO, I will look at sprinkling that knockout prop if he starts talking about it in those interviews, because frankly, it'll be on the table and there for him if he wants it. Chase Hooper by sub is -105, so you're getting even money on the most likely outcome, in my opinion. I do think it's going to be a round 2, round 3 submission. Clay Guida just sticks his neck into chokes way too often when he's hunting for those takedowns. And I don't think he can stand with a kid like Hooper without looking for those takedowns for 15 straight minutes. So we'll eventually end up on the ground, man. It's got to be Chase Hooper by sub for me.
Yep. I think it's pretty easy here. Chase Hooper -1,000 is kind of gross. Like I never thought Chase Hooper would be -1,000, but yeah, I just feel like at some point this fight is going to hit the mat one way or another. At some point, Clay Guida is going to shoot in on a takedown and get his neck snatched up. I was on the Joaquim Silva sub as well. I think everybody was. And gee, I wanted to put my head through a wall. Like, what's up with Joaquim Silva?
So
how are you going to nickname yourself Neto BJJ, but can't submit somebody that's been submitted 11 times in their career? Like, what are you doing? But yeah, I think Chase Hooper probably
lost a stripe on his black belt that night.
Yeah, I mean, just take it away from him. Jeez. But yeah, this should be Hooper by sub. I don't know how I'm going to attack this. I think I'd rather just play the inside the distance. I can't imagine the inside the distance and the subs going to be too far away from each other in terms of price, because it could be that ground and pound, man. I remember that the Slava fight with Chase Hooper, like that fight should have been stopped. I'm guessing it was probably Keith Peterson in there. Chase Hooper beat the brakes off of Slava. The fight should have been stopped, and then he ends up snatching up a neck. I mean, that really could have been a TKO. So I would look at the inside the distance. I do lean sub, but he could pound out Clay Guida just as much. So I like Cooper and inside the distance here. I would be shocked if Clay Guida finished Hooper, nothing like that. So I would just take the inside the distance for Hooper.
No, I'm right there with you. Inside the distance is like -185. So it's a big jump in that number from the even money on the sub to the inside the distance. We're getting up in that near -200 range. But again, I think it makes sense. There's a lot of ways that this fight can end. And especially if we're talking, cuts and stuff like that, you could get a bloody stoppage, which Clay Guida loves himself a good bloody brawl. So they probably let him go a little bit longer, but blood always makes it easier to sink those chokes in too. So yeah, man, inside the distance has got to be it for this one.
Yeah. What's the total out on this one?
You know what? That's a great question. 1.5 over -170, it looks like.
I mean, it could happen in any round. I would lean like later as well, but it could happen if this fight hits the mat in the first. I mean, we saw Claudio Poyas get Guida out of there in the first. So
Guida doesn't know how to protect his legs. It's apparent at this point. Like the knee bars, the heel hooks, the calf slicer, like all those leg lock type submissions are the ones that he seems to have a real problem with. So yeah, this one could be over early. And go back, guys, if you've got Fight Pass or you just YouTube, whatever, find that grappling matchup. It is so quick. Like they stay on the feet for a decent amount of time, not being able to kind of jockey for position to take each other down. But as soon as they do hit the ground, I think it was in the second round of the grappling matchup, Chase swings for a leg lock and Clay talks to the ref asking him if he's allowed to do that rather than defending the leg lock. So like he just has no idea what to do on the mat as soon as you start hunting ankles. So yeah, I think Chase has a very easy path to victory here for the sub.
Yep.
All right. And, man, back to Neto BJJ, you know how you get guys like Alex Pereira who get their black belts from a KO, like a fight with absolutely no grappling involved. Like his coaches really just need to like walk into the cage after the fight and like remove one of the tape stripes from his belt in front of everybody. Be like, no submission, you lose a rank. That's
I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it.
No, you know, he got whipped at the gym. Everyone else took their belts off and just beat him for like 15 minutes for not getting that submission.
Good.
All right, guys. Next fight, Michael Chiesa takes on Max Payne, Griffin, and Brady. Why don't you take the lead on this one, man? Why don't you talk to me about this fight here?
Yeah, I think this is the second closest line fight on the card. Yeah, this is a close one. Two older guys. Like, I can't believe, like, Max Griffin's 39 years old. It doesn't feel like this guy's 39 years old, but he is. He's been doing it for a while. And it's going to be Chiesa who's actually going to be the younger guy. I feel like this has split decision written all over it. I think it's favored to go the distance heavily. I guess it all comes down to whether or not Chiesa is going to be able to get takedowns here. If he's able to get takedowns, I think he could win the fight. And I think he can. There's money coming in here on Chiesa, so that the plus money is not as intriguing, but I would kind of lean his side just because I feel like this fight is going to be close. On the feet, you have to favor Griffin, but we've seen Griffin taken down a lot as of late. Like, even Tim Means able to take him down a couple times. So I'll take Chiesa to win like a very greasy split decision where on the feet it's competitive, favor Griffin, but Chiesa gets some takedowns, gets some control. But not a strong take, a fight that I don't really have a ton of interest in. But I'll go Chiesa for the upset.
Interesting. Okay. So this fight was lined a little bit wider, like Brady said, not too long ago. We are trending very, very closely to pick him right now. Plus 105 on Michael Chiesa, Max Griffin minus 125, the ever so slight favorite. This line is definitely on the move. Money coming in here on the dog. And I am kind of surprised that Max Griffin was the favorite in the first place, Brady. I thought this line would be the other way around. You know, Chiesa is 36 years old, Griffin 39, so they're both getting up there a little bit, but they look like they're right about the same age, roughly. Chiesa snapped a 3-fight losing skid with a win over Tony Ferguson, which at this point is basically like, getting dropped down to a preliminary fight over in Cage Warriors or something like that. That doesn't do much for me. The fact that he was able to get a win over Tony Ferguson in 2024. Man, I came on this show and said how much I wanted to actually bet Tony that night because I think Chiesa is shot, man. I think he's shot to bits. He's been plagued with injuries his entire career. He basically was ready to hang it up. And he's on a 3-fight losing streak with 2 of those coming by finish in the first round. Just easy peasy for guys like Kevin Holland and Vicente Luque. Got him out of there without any kind of sweat whatsoever. He doesn't even seem to have the grappling chops that he used to. You know, you look at that Tony Ferguson fight and it's all backwards. You've got a 155er in front of you who is 47 years old, has no power in his hands, never did, and is a primary grappler like yourself. And the entire fight, Michael Chiesa is moving backwards and throwing a jab. Like, the guy was so scared to get hit. And when they did exchange, Tony Ferguson was landing, man. I mean, we're talking decent, solid shots where Chiesa just still to this day has absolutely zero head movement. And the guy does not like getting hit. You know, his entire career, Brady, I was shocked when I went back and looked. He's only got 1 KO loss on his entire record. And I'm like, that cannot be right. Joe Lozon all the way back in 2014 got a cut stoppage over this guy. He's been finished 5 other times, but they've all been by club and sub. Like, as soon as you've got this guy hurt, he shoots for a panic takedown and he leaves his neck stuck out there and absolutely has no defense whatsoever from that position. And I can't get over the fact that this guy hung it up essentially. And now he's coming back around after getting a win over Tony Ferguson. I was hoping Max Griffin was a dog coming into this fight. I really was. He's 39 years old, so he's a little bit older. I don't like to make a habit of betting on the older fighter in these type of scenarios, but Max Griffin has solid takedown defense. You know, you look back at his run, he lost a decision to Neil Magny, where Magny went 1 of 9 on takedowns. 1 of 9. And, Magny's calling card has always been being able to drag people into the depths and drag them down to the ground. He could not get this man down. You know, you go back even further than that. And when he fought, the fight after that, Tim Means, he won a split decision over Tim the Dirty Bird Means. Tim Means got 3 takedowns on him. Brady, all 3 of those happened within the final 60 seconds of that fight. We're talking round 3. We have had Max Griffin in control the entire fight using his offensive grappling. And then Tim Means flips the script on him with like 60 seconds left, got 2 takedowns where his hip hit the mat and he popped back up immediately. And then Tim Means kind of mat returned him. They were pointless. They were completely pointless. If you just look at the stats on UFC, it looks like, oh, Tim Means landed 3 takedowns on this guy. You go back and you run the fight, they serve no purpose whatsoever. It was a completely taken off guard type of situation. This guy can bang too. You know, you look at the Jeremiah Wells fight, he's got hands, he can box, he's got a good jab, he's got power, he's got pop in his right hand. I like Max Griffin, and he's been a little bit up and down. You know, he's got like 3 fights that have gone to a split decision, but frankly, man, he handles people when he needs to. And Michael Chiesa, I'm looking through his run as far as some of his recent wins. You know, the Neil Magny decision, that one makes sense. He was bigger than Rafael dos Anjos. That was one of the most boring fights of all time. Then Diego Sanchez, Carlos Condit. Somehow he won against Beneil Dariush all the way back in 2016. I still don't know what that was about. But again, that was 10 years ago at this point. He hasn't got a decent win on his record. The last good win was 2020 RDA, where he basically just kind of backpacked him and was the bigger bully at this weight class. I don't know if he can get takedowns on Max Griffin. And if he can, I just don't know that he can take the punishment coming on the feet from Max Griffin. If you're running away and backpedaling against Tony Ferguson, what's he going to do when Max hits him? You know, I could actually see this being a KO for Max Griffin, where we see something where Chiesa just kind of curls up into a ball, man. You know, the way he quick tapped against guys like Kevin Holland and Vicente Luque, I don't think Max is going to be looking for a Darce choke, unfortunately, but I just don't think he's got it anymore. I could see him curling up into a ball once Max hits him once or twice when he gets into range. He'll give it the old college try for about 2 minutes. And then when he starts getting hit, I just think Max is going to want it more than he does on the night.
Yeah, I wish they gave Chiesa to somebody else, because I've been making so much money just betting the other guy by sub,
Right.
like Kevin Holland by sub. Vicente Luque by sub was plus 1,400 that night, got the Darce. I'm just not sure Griffin's going to sub him there. But yeah, I get it. I mean, if Griffin's able to keep this fight on the feet, could potentially knock him out. But it's going to be one I'm going to be staying away from. But yeah, the line movement's kind of interesting. I'm curious to see where the line does go. But I don't think I'll be touching this one.
Fair enough, man. Yeah, I'm more and more intrigued by it the lower this line gets. If we get down to a pick'em, I want to see if this thing flips, but I'm not sure it's going to. If we can get down to even money, I think I'll probably end up jumping in on the Max Griffin side, just because I am in the business of fading Chiesa, and especially with me kind of proclaiming him as a man who I think is, past his expiration date, even though he's the younger fighter here in this situation. I'll take the short price tag on the guy that opened up the favorite. Let me look real quick for you guys, because I want to see what this number opened up as. It's right next to the Chase Hooper line. I was like, Max opened up a 10-1 favorite. Oh my God. Like, no, he didn't. But he did open up a decent sized favorite. It looks like in most places. Max Griffin was like a minus 155, minus 170 I'm seeing. Yeah. So yeah, he was a solid favorite, and the money is just kind of coming in on Chiesa in this spot. And I feel like people might be, getting the quick finish of Tony Ferguson twisted here. I like the other side. I think the bookies had it right.
Dude, I wish Max Griffin has shown any type of submission game, because Griffin by sub is plus 1,800. Like, Chiesa's been sub, I think, 5 or 6 times.
Does Griffin even have a sub win?
He does not. He did not in the UFC.
Wow.
He's attempted.
Yeah, I mean,
he's attempted 3 though, 3 or 4.
See that right there, though? That's the trick, though. If he's attempted them, it makes me a little curious. We'll have to go, stalk Max Griffin on Instagram and see if he's got, some jiu-jitsu classes going. My trick, Brady, is if he has a promotion recently, like if he just got promoted to brown belt in like the last couple of months or something like that, that's when I'm like, all right, we're going to go ahead and look for that sub. But I don't know if that's even on his radar. Someone needs to DM Max Griffin and tell him to work on his Darce choke.
I want to see a picture with him with a black belt, and then maybe I'll take a look at the 1,800.
Exactly. All right, guys, we'll go ahead and move along from that one here. Next up, we've got Cody Durden taking on Joshua Van in one of the absolute best bangers this card has to offer. This fight is fantastic. You guys should know, before I even start talking about this fight, though, that I'm picking against Cody Durden. Love you, Cody. I know you follow me now on X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it. Cody and I have buried the hatchet a couple of times, but I've picked against this guy like literally every single fight in the UFC. Now, I want to go ahead and preface all of this by saying Cody seems like an awesome dude. And like I said, we have talked and we've buried the hatchet. It's just picks, right? Like I'm doing a betting show. You got to pick a side. And at the end of the day, I've found myself on the opposite side of him multiple times. I picked Charles Johnson. He won that fight. I picked Jake Hadley. I can't believe he got out of that submission. I picked Tagir. Actually, that was the one fight where I said, okay, I'm not going to bet against this man because I had been losing money trying to fade him and finally stayed off. And Tagir was the guy that went ahead and got it done. Picked Bruno Silva. And then I did actually go ahead and pick him to get the win over Matt Schnell. So I've kind of gotten on track the last couple of fights here. Now that he's hit a bit of a level up in competition, we seem to have found his ceiling, I think. And again, not meaning to be disparaging or anything like that, but at 33 years old, I kind of think this is where he belongs, right? Like you look back at the guys that he's beating, a fight that I think if you ran back against Charles Johnson, I think Charles Johnson wins that fight, guys. I will stand by that breakdown, but he knocks out JP Buys. He beats Jake Hadley. Neither of those guys are in the UFC anymore. Matt Schnell has retired. He is essentially a ghost version of the guy that he used to be. These are the guys that he's beating. Bruno Silva is getting KO'd, even though he did look good prior to the knockout loss. Bruno really flipped the script on that fight and knocked him out. But then the quick finish by Tagir Ulanbekov. I just don't think he's going to be a contender circle type of guy. He'll be a fun banger type that, mixes in that wrestle boxing. He's got fast hands. He likes to take people down, wear them out. But he does also struggle with his own gas tank a little bit deeper in fights, Brady, which I find interesting. It seems like he fades in round 3 decently, especially when his opponents are still around. But he's also putting his stamp on these fights a little bit more. The Matt Schnell fight, he decided to bite down and really swing for the fences with Matt Schnell. Now, Schnell, we know, does not have a good chin. It's funny. I had Cody by KO and I had Schnell by sub. Of course, It ends up being Cody by sub. So it's like, what the hell, man? Like, I can't get this guy right to save my life. But he's fighting Josh Van, who is going for his 4th fight in 2024. This kid is fighter of the year as far as debutants go in the UFC. His 4th fight this year under the UFC banner. I love his boxing. I love his footwork. He is relentless the way that he comes forward, and he just attacks the body. His grappling has already come a long way, and he continues to work on it. This guy has solid takedown defense, but even more so, when he does get taken down, he's got that urgency to get back up to his feet. He's a very hard guy to keep down, a very hard guy to control, and I think that's something that'll come into play here in this fight. Charles Johnson, again, we've got another common opponent here, but you guys know how I feel about Charles Johnson. I think he's severely underrated. I did pick Van against Charles Johnson, and it looked like Van was doing exactly what I thought he was going to do, and then he got sparked in the 3rd round in that fight, where Charles Johnson really is just kind of the king of that 3rd round finish. Edgar Chairez did land some big shots on Josh Van, had him wobbled a couple of times, but you guys got to remember, putting this thing into context, Edgar Chairez absolutely floored Tatsuro Taira, a kid that we think is very near contender level status, a guy who could be challenging for a title within, his next 2-3 fights. Like, that guy's got power. He may not be the best fighter ever, but when he lands, he hits people hard. So Josh Van getting clipped by the guy once or twice, getting wobbled, and then being able to push through it and damn near get a 2nd round finish of his own. It was a pretty impressive performance, a good solid comeback, especially after having gotten KO'd. The quick turnarounds, getting wobbled multiple times, I worry about Josh Van's durability for sure. But at 23 years old, being built the way this kid is, I don't think he's going to crack his chin coming into this fight. And frankly, if Cody wants to have another slug it out, bang type of fight with a kid like Josh Van, I think that's a bad decision. The way this kid roasts the ribs, the way he rolls and attacks the body, I do think Josh Van is going to end up finding a way to get Cody out of there in the 2nd or the 3rd round after defending a couple takedowns and just kind of exhausting him and working that midsection of his. It's another competitively lined fight, minus 145-ish for Josh Van. Cody Durden, the plus 125-ish underdog. And man, I think Josh Van is going to get the round 3 TKO in this one.
Yeah, we're actually seeing the fight the same way. I don't think I'm as confident in Van. One thing I want to say for Van, I get he's young and he wants to be active, but he needs to probably take some time off. Like, he got brutally knocked out by Charles Johnson, right? That fight was only 4 months ago. And then he takes on Edgar Chairez. That fight was 2 months ago. He took a ton of damage in that fight as well. He got rocked multiple times, almost finished multiple times. was able to battle through it. But geez, this guy Joshua Van, the last 4 months, has taken a ton of damage, and now he's right back in there against Cody Durden. I'm seeing the fight the same way in the sense that I think these guys are going to slug it out. I think these guys are going to stand and bang. I think Durden will go for takedowns here and there, but I do think primarily this fight's going to take place on the feet. And I actually think Durden is live to hurt Joshua Van. But as the fight goes on, you got to favor Van. This guy just gets better and better as the fight goes on. I love the body work, the volume. I think somebody's getting served here. So rather than a money line, what I like in this one, I like violence because I think both guys can get a knockout. I actually think Durden can knock out Joshua Van, who's taken a ton of damage, who I think is kind of chinny. And I think Joshua Van is absolutely live to knock out Durden. And I also think both guys can actually get a sub. Durden's been submitted 4 times. Joshua Van's been working on that submission game. And we've seen Van submitted before as well. So I think both guys are live for a finish. I like the fight doesn't go at like -130 or the under 2.5 at +100. That's kind of how I'm going to attack it. I think it's one of the most exciting fights on the entire card. I don't see how this fight is going to be boring whatsoever. So yeah, I like violence here. The pick is Van, but I don't think I'm as confident here.
I like the violence look, Brady. I do think that is a fantastic call because I don't want to underrate the potential upside of a black belt level Cody Durden. I do know that he is fully capable and honestly submitting someone like Matt Schnell. While I will agree with my guy Dixon Sider that I think not being able to knock out Schnell is kind of a red flag on your power. His being able to submit a guy like Matt Schnell, I think, is a big green flag. That's the kind of thing that's extremely impressive. It is very, very hard to submit Matt Schnell. So got to give Cody Durden props and flowers where they are due. I will also say, I think Josh Van has the outside shot at the sub here in this spot too, because that has been kind of the Achilles heel for Cody Durden. Now I know he's, working on that. He's getting better. It's not something we've seen, lately, but he also had the issue with the submission defense early on in his career. And Josh Van, he said he was going to guillotine to Gear Ulanbekov. Like, he's another guy that I want to see the pictures in the grappling room. Like, I want to see this kid working on his jiu-jitsu because I would love to take a flyer on like a 20-1 Josh Van by submission in this kind of a spot. But violence definitely the way to go. More being able to be the way that I think this fight goes. My guy Dan, half the battle in the chat. I know you're a big Cody Durden fan. I know he's your boy. So I know you disagree with me on a lot of the things that I've said about him over the course of his career, man. I respect your takes and I respect Cody. So again, nothing against him. Just saying what I'm seeing. You know what I mean? He says not being able to KO Schnell is the definition of fake news. Schnell got rocked and panic shot into a choke, had to keep it standing, would have got slept. And yeah, but like I said, though, him just being able to get the sub is what I'm more giving him credit for in that spot. Cause Matt Schnell is not an easy guy to submit. So, I will, agree to disagree on that one for sure. All right, man. Next fight up. We've got a rematch, kind of rebooked. Chris Weidman takes on Eric, your boy Anders. I like this fight, man. I liked it when they announced it the first time. I like it now that we have rebooked it. We broke this fight down a couple weeks back, and you guys know my take on this one. I am all aboard fading Chris Weidman at the end of his career. We've seen so many times, guys, the bookies snatch absolutely everything you've got when it comes to value in these situations. Chris Weidman opened up as a decent underdog in this spot, and money poured in on Chris Weidman. This fight was trending towards a pick'em price tag on the eve of the fight, and then it gets canceled at the very last second. It gets rebooked, and lo and behold, what happens? It reopens near a pick'em. The bookies are not going to give you those juicy underdog lines on Chris Weidman that were available the first time it was booked weeks and weeks and weeks ago. So I apologize for any of you that are missing out, but my opinion has not changed. I was watching this fight very closely, Brady, and I want to bet Eric Anders. I will stick with wanting to bet Eric Anders. He's 37 years old. Chris Weidman is the slightly older fighter at 40 years old, and there is an argument to be made for this to talk about the levels to this game type of situation. Chris Weidman is a former champion. He has reached heights in this fight game that Eric Anders will never be able to sniff. However, he's also incredibly shot, in my opinion. His 3-fight losing skid snapped when he finally gets a win over Bruno Silva in what was a technical decision. If you guys missed the last breakdown, or if you're just new to the podcast, first off, welcome. But what happened that night was Chris Weidman was violating the eyes of Bruno Silva. That man needed to he's blind. He can't see out of either eye now. Michael Bisping has one fake eye. Bruno has both because Chris Weidman absolutely destroyed that poor man's eyes. And instead of taking a point from him, they stopped the fight and sent it to a technical decision. And he won that technical decision. So the worst way you could possibly ever get your hand raised in the UFC as far as shenanigans goes. I thought I was going to get a disqualification victory that night. I bet Bruno Silva. And even though Chris Weidman was edging out the fight, it was not one that he was dominantly winning by any means. And you got to wonder just what kind of state was Bruno Silva in after getting his eyes poked 5 times over the course of the night. I couldn't believe that they just called it and then sent it to a technical decision. Absolutely disgusting finish for me. But Eric Anders, you guys, I've made a big deal about the fact that, he got himself clean over the last couple of years. He's been very, very open about the fact that he was struggling with alcohol and drug addiction and things of that nature. And he has gotten himself fully clean. He's doing this camp fully clean, and he's a freak athlete. He always has been. And I want to see what this guy is capable of, even at this late stage of his professional athletic career, with being clean, going through a training camp and things of that nature. This fight's going to be kind of a cage push clinch fest, Brady. I think both those guys like to do that. But we've seen Chris Weidman slow down pretty commonly. You look back, even in his heyday, the round 3 finishes was always a thing. Yoel Romero, Jacare Souza, he just kind of falls apart down the stretch. I don't know that Eric Anders has the pop on his punches to actually fully put him away, but I think it's mandatory to sprinkle round 3 for the opponent of Chris Weidman because of that history and because of his age and because of the wearing durability. I like your boy Eric Anders here in this spot. And if this line flips, I'll be even happier being able to get a plus, because last time that did not happen. With the line opening shorter, I got to wonder if maybe this time it comes around.
Yeah, I mean, I actually bet on Anders when they were supposed to fight a month ago. I think I got minus 115, minus 110, something like that. And yeah, my thinking when I was breaking down this fight was does Eric Anders care? Because sometimes with Eric Anders, is he goes in there and it looks like he doesn't care. It looks like he doesn't want to be in there. Like the Jamie Pickett fight just looked awful in that fight. But there's also times where Eric Anders goes out there and he looks incredible. He looks motivated. It looks like he wants to be there, like the Kyle Dawkins fight. The first Darren Stewart fight where he was beating the brakes off of him ended up being a no contest, but looked incredible there. And I wanted to know if Eric Anders cares. And the fact that he did get sober, did get clean, that tells me that, hey, this guy might care. And I think if he cares, I think he beats Chris Weidman here. I think Weidman is getting very overrated after his win against Bruno Silva. I think Bruno Silva is extremely washed. I think he's done. And actually, after Bruno Silva's last loss to Ismail Nardiev, he actually came out and said that he doesn't want to be in there. He literally said that he doesn't want to be in there anymore. And you could tell that Bruno Silva just doesn't want to be in there anymore. I think Alex Pereira took his soul. And since that fight, he's looked awful. So yeah, I think, Chris Weidman, he won that fight, but I just don't think that's the same Bruno Silva pre-Alex Pereira. So yeah, yeah, I mean, I'll probably end up betting Anders again here, minus 110. Was hoping it might even flip to plus money potentially. But yeah, I think Anders, if we're getting a motivated Anders ready to go, I think he can win this fight and potentially even by knockout. Weidman's been knocked out 5-6 times. So I don't mind Anders as well.
All right, man. Glad we are on the same page on that one. A little bit definitely narrative driven on that spot, but I'm completely with you. A motivated Eric Anders is a different beast. And the Jamie Pickett fight, I'm glad you brought that up because he was very openly dealing with depression and things like that at that stage of his life, which again, compiled with the drug and alcohol abuse and things like that, that would explain such a low rung performance. You know what I mean? He managed to do what he needed to do in that spot, but you could tell that was a guy that was dealing with some demons and struggling with some stuff in that kind of a spot. So hopefully he's turned it around. Hopefully he's in, based off his social media and things like that, he does look like he's in a much better place, mentally speaking, at this point in time. So I'll risk it, man. I will risk it. I also think there's a very, very good chance that we don't get robbed now. That was the narrative last time, was they were putting Chris Weidman in his own backyard and we were going to get a similar situation where a very close eye pokey type of fight was one that might go to Weidman if it was competitive. Now that we're no longer in MSG, I think that levels the playing field a little bit. So already liked Anders the first time around. Why wouldn't I go back at a better price tag?
Yep, I agree. It's gross in my opinion, but yeah, I agree.
Absolutely. It's filthy, but that's what we do here. We're degenerates, baby. All right, guys, we got about 700 of you live watching the show. Do me a favor, please, and hit the like button if you have not. Appreciate you guys being here. Next up, we've got Randy Rude Boy Brown taking on Bryan the Butcher. Battle in a fight where Bryan Battle really tries to cement himself as a contender in this division. Bryan Battle is a guy that I've kind of have a tough time wrapping my brain around. He's got the best DBZ tattoo in the game right now. You love to see it. 33 years old, Ultimate Fighter winner. He's on one hell of a run at the moment. It says 3-1-1, but really it's 4-1. The no contest to Ange Lusa, he was beating the brakes off that kid. So we're gonna go ahead and give him the win in my book in that fight. All three of his wins by finish. Knocked out Gabe Green, choked out AJ Fletcher, knocked out Kevin Jusset. Like, this guy is absolutely just flying right now, and he is deadly when he gets in there. Randy Brown, he's getting up there. 34 years old. He's been kind of circling the well as far as being a contender, but every single time he gets his opportunity to step up and make a difference, he loses. Back in the day, they threw him in there with Bilal Muhammad. He lost that fight. He got ground and pounded from bottom somehow against Nico Price, and that knocked him out. Vicente Luque took him out. He puts together a win streak, and then Jack Della gets him out of there. Like, this guy just cannot get past that contender circle. If you're somebody who's going to be fighting in the top 10 of the division, Randy Brown seems to fall apart every time he gets that window of opportunity. Frankly, it also seems like these guys who are a bit on the beastly physical side, you look at kind of the freak athletes like the Vicente Luque, the Nico Prices, Bilal Muhammad, obviously a guy who's very well known for his physicality. Jack Della, I just think, is way too smooth of an operator, and obviously his striking is next level. But Bryan Battle could fall into that freak athlete size and power type of discussion. The DDPs of the world, kind of, right? The guys that can make up for a little bit of their lack as far as some of their skill sets with physicality and size. He cuts a ton of weight, Brady, to get to this weight class. I still don't know how he gets on the scale and keeps his body down that far. You can tell just by the guys, like his torso, his rib cage, that he belongs up a weight class, and he's kind of keeping himself down here. The guy has bricks in his hands. He's got good volume. He's got good cardio. When he needs to, Bryan Battle can change things up. The biggest thing that impressed me recently, Brady, was the AJ Fletcher fight. Because in that fight, it was, AJ Fletcher is the better grappler here, and Bryan Battle is going to have the striking advantage. What happened? Fight starts, and AJ Fletcher starts banging Bryan Battle up on the feet, knocking him around with his hands, and he went, oh, shit. It was not the advantage that he thought he had. So what did he do? He took it to the ground. He ends up having a grappling advantage over AJ Fletcher, which is something I would have thought the reverse would be the truth. But here we go. Like, Bryan Battle also showed off a really nasty clinch game against Kevin Jusset. That was a spot where I was extremely impressed when they got tied up. I thought Jusset would have a massive advantage there, but you were seeing knees and elbows from Bryan Battle. He was holding his own in those spots as well. So he is impressing me. Every single time he gets in the cage, it seems like he's getting better. Randy Brown seems like he's a little bit fragile sometimes to me. That seems to be the way to get to him, is to hurt him on the feet. He likes to stick and move, play the outside, use that length and that speed. And when he has an opportunity to bite down on the mouthpiece and really throw hard, he goes fast, man. That knockout over Muslim Salikov will just kind of live in my memory and show kind of what he's capable of. But more often than not, he's looking to win decisions. He wants to squeeze out a technical decision and not let you get close to him and not let you touch him. Bryan Battle has been facing mostly guys that come forward and or are punching bags. Kevin Jusset stood right in front of him. So I think the battle in this fight really is going to be, can Bryan Battle catch Randy Brown? And if he can get Randy Brown to exchange with him, then I think Bryan Battle can finish him. I really do. However, we have seen Bryan Battle hurt on the feet a couple of different times, and this is a big step up in competition as far as the overall MMA and striking game goes. I wouldn't be at all shocked if Randy Brown is just the faster fighter in there and is able to find opportunities to set up Bryan Battle and walk him into big power shots, something that nobody really has been able to do to this point. It's another spot where I'm going to pick the favorite, but I don't think I can get to a minus 230 price tag. I apologize for being long-winded on this one, guys, but I think it's a really complex fight. Brady, I think I like violence. If Randy Brown does land on Bryan Battle, I think he'll hurt him. And I think there's a chance he can finish him. And if Brown gets this fight to the ground, he actually has a really underrated sneaky submission game. I do think I give Bryan Battle the edge when it comes to the submission grappling just in general. So I think both guys would be live by sub potentially. And I think both guys are live by KO. I want a violence bet on this fight. I want this fight to go under. I think an under is the way to go instead of picking a side, as long as the price is reasonable. And right now I am seeing a 1.5 total. Over is -200. So I'd want to look for an alternate at a 2.5, or a fight doesn't go the distance or something along those lines, I think, when those numbers kind of start to come out.
Yeah, I don't mind violence either. Don't know if I love it at the price. -160 for the fight doesn't go. Not in love with it, but yeah, I think there probably is a finish here. This is kind of the theme, it seems like, these last several months. It's like these favorites, they're too wide. Like, should Bryan Battle be -230 here? Probably not. He probably should be like -150, right? Should Chase Hooper be -1,000? No. No, he should, but is he going to win? Yeah. No. Is Kennedy Nzechukwu supposed to be -600? No, absolutely, against anybody. But yeah, this line's too wide, but at the same time, I'm a big believer in Battle. I've been saying it the last several fights. Like, every time he steps into the cage, we see a new and improved version. I think he's making rapid improvements. And in this fight in particular, it's like, I like the volume. I like the durability. I think there's a durability edge here. I think there's a grappling edge here. So yeah, I do like Battle to win, but this is also a big step up in competition. This is not AJ Fletcher. This is not Gabe Green. This is definitely not Takashi Sato. Oh my gosh, it's not Takashi Sato. It's not Trayshawn Gore. Randy Brown's fought the much better competition. So this line's too wide. I think it is probably a dog or pass, but I just don't want to step in front of Bryan Battle at this point. This guy looks to be making massive improvements. And if we do see like more improvements out of the guy, like, this guy could potentially, keep climbing up the ranks here. So I like Battle as a pick, but I can't fathom like -230 here. I think it's a disrespectful line here on Randy Brown, and I do like violence as well. We'll see what the 2.5 is. I maybe the 2.5's a good look, but I might just be passing on this one, sitting back and watching it.
I hear you. Yeah, man, you and me are on the same spot on this one here. Ethan asks if I want the action. No, thank you, Ethan. I will not be taking the shot bet on this one because I got Battle too. Like, I think the line is wide. Pardon me, but I am not going to be pulling the trigger on the shot bet on that one, because I will be picking Battle at the end of the day. My guy Dan does have a very good question. What price would Randy Brown be against those guys that Battle has been fighting? And I agree. Like, you put Randy Brown in there against the same roster of fighters that Battle has beaten. He's -300 or higher, against all of those guys. So like I mentioned, man, this is a huge step up in competition. And I think there's going to be some very, very serious testing to be done here. Let's see here. Doritos says Randy is just physicality with no IQ, no heart, no chin. Interesting. I don't know if I agree with most of that. I do think the durability is a little bit questionable, but no IQ, I have serious issues with that statement. No heart, kind of got an issue with that one as well. So agree to disagree, I guess. But I will pick Bryan Battle. Feels gross. Brady, one of the things the bookmakers, I think, have been doing to us this year, one of the reasons why I'm down so bad this year, is they are making these favorites, like you're talking about those numbers, they're just blown out. Yeah, the favorites are so much bigger than they should be, because everyone is getting better at betting MMA. Everyone's getting smarter about betting MMA. So when we all line up on the same side and a guy is a -130 favorite, but he should win the fight, he ends up being a -200 favorite, which means it's a really bad idea to bet him. And you might still win your bet. Congratulations, but it's a bad number. And eventually that bill is going to come due. We've seen that a little bit recently. We're finally starting to see some of these dogs bark. And especially now, don't forget, guys, this is the pay-per-view. We're going to have the old gloves. We're going to have the official good old-fashioned UFC slobber knocker gloves. We're going to see less decisions in the future because they've gone back to these, brass knuckle style gloves where the padding is all right here and the fighters feel comfortable letting loose and throwing hard. I think we're going to see a lot more finishes again because of that. So beware, because some of these lines are extremely trappy. And yeah, I think Bryan Battle could be one of those ones that's a bit wolf tickets, because Randy Brown, if he has his way, is going to make sure Bryan has a hard time finding him in there. If Bryan Battle can, maybe hit a takedown, I think that's one of his easiest paths to victory, to finding his way to a finish or something like that. But if Randy can keep the distance in what will be the big octagon, don't be shocked if he walks Battle into a big shot or even just pieces him up for 15 minutes.
Yeah. I would not be touching Battle at minus 230.
I'm sorry, repeat that. I lost you for a second.
I would not be touching Battle at minus 230.
Yeah. Let me. You know what? Let me see. What is Randy Brown by decision? Plus 500. 5-1 for Randy Brown to win by decision, which is his preferred method of victory. I think there's some really interesting looks on this fight. Let's see here. Stacy and Paul Doc says, why are they getting blown out? More bettors following YouTubers or just bookmakers tweaking the numbers? Frankly, I think it's bookmakers getting sharper. MMA, when we all kind of got started, I've been doing the podcast now for 6 years, guys. That's freaking insane to say it's been 6 years. But it was just easy. It was just easy. You'd get people that were plus 170 underdogs that should have been favorites, and the bookmakers just had no idea what they were doing. Or you would have a KO prop on a guy, going up against a fighter like Matt Schnell, where it's notable that he's got chin issues, but maybe from the regionals, nobody had seen it. He has 2 or 3 fights that go to decision in the UFC, so the KO prop is 7-1. It was just easy to click those, and those aren't the way anymore. Like they now have a better grasp, a better understanding. They monitor the sport more closely as it gets larger. The numbers are getting squashed. So, even those big finish props and stuff like that, we're looking at 6 and 7-1s instead of 12 and 14-1s. The books are just making it harder for us to find ways to profit on it. So yeah, they're just getting better at it. And we got to find an alternative way to keep up, unfortunately. And this year, people laying the chalk and parlaying have been just absolutely crushing. But don't expect that to continue forever. Eventually that will end up swinging the other way. All right. Next fight, guys. We've got Movsar Evloev, and he takes on Aljamain Sterling, the Funk Master, trying to continue his rampage up a weight class since vacating his home of 135 pounds. Now, I am your bantamweight king, as you all damn well know, so I feel like my opinion needs to be respected on Aljamain Sterling. Both of these fighters, in fact, Movsar Evloev and Aljamain Sterling, former 135-pound fighters. So just, for you guys, just make sure you're tuning in. Take some notes. Get your notepad out. Brady, what do you make of this fight, man? What's going on here?
I want to hear your thoughts, man. I mean, you're the bantamweight. You probably have a good read on Sterling here, right?
Yeah, I think I do. Sterling, 35 years old. He's a grappler. That's how he gets his entire fight done. That's a terrible way to say that. That's how he gets going in all of his fights, is he's a grappler first. And, you go back to the Sean O'Malley fight, everyone had come around to Aljamain Sterling by that point, and he was a minus 250 favorite over Sugar Sean O'Malley, who was frankly the absolute worst fight for him in the entire division. One of the things I had pointed out in that fight was that Aljamain Sterling really sucks at the mid-range. He likes to keep you completely at distance. He throws really long kicks and jabs, and he kind of stays squat down and feints, and he keeps you where he's the only one who's able to touch you, and then he's all the way in. He's all the way in on a takedown. He's all the way in on a double leg. He'll trip you. He'll dump you. He'll ankle pick you, whatever it takes. And then he's the master of the backpack. Once he's on you, he can flow past a lot of people. He's one step ahead in some of these transitional spots, and he just gets to your back, and there's not a whole lot you can do from that point. We saw that in the Petr Yan rematch, where he was just able to chew away minutes, and there's nothing these little guys at 135 could do against him. They were too small. He was too big. He was too strong. And that grappling was just an absolute cheat code against these smaller, less physical grapplers. The Henry Cejudo fight before that, frankly, Brady, I still think Henry won that fight. I thought Henry should have gotten the nod on that split decision. And I was very upset that it went the other way, because it's one of the few fights that I've gotten wrong over the last couple of years at bantamweight, because my reads have been so on point. And the judges robbed me that night. It came down to the control again. Cejudo was just not quite able to contend with somebody who's bigger and more physical. But let's not forget, Henry Cejudo's a guy that was coming up a weight class himself there. Aljamain can fight no problem at 145. Henry was cutting down to 125. There's a big physicality gap there. Aljamain is losing that advantage coming up to 145, you guys. He is giving up the size and strength advantage. Now, I know he looked like $1 million against Calvin Kattar. And frankly, I did expect Calvin Kattar to have more success in the striking, and he was not able to get back up to the feet. He was not able to defend any of those takedowns. Frankly, Calvin Kattar looked like an absolute shell of himself that night. But Aljamain looks like he is big and he's physical and he's strong at 145 pounds. Movsar Evloev, training out of American Top Team, This guy will melt urinals every time he pees. He's got so much juice running through his veins. I mean, man, seriously, look at the veins in his neck. I would be able, like, if we chop one of those things out, I could stick my finger through it. Like, those things are like this. He's absolutely massive. And he transitioned up from 135 a long time ago. So he is very, very used to being here at 145 pounds. And frankly, has put on size since he's been up here. So he is a physical force. And he took out a guy in Diego Lopez who's been lighting this division on fire since he got here. And he kind of made it look easy. I know at the end of that fight, Diego Lopez was looking for knee bars and stuff like that. But you guys, it is impossible to tap out Movsar Evloev. I'm saying it right now. It is impossible to submit Movsar Evloev. You're not going to catch a sub on this guy. So with his ability to grapple, you can't keep him on the mat. As soon as his butt, his nip, his he, whatever, touches the floor, he's back up. He is incredibly strong. He's incredibly explosive. He is one step ahead of everybody in the grappling as well. So what does that mean for this fight? We're going to have two elite level grapplers that are both used to doing nothing but control their opponents, going in there and facing off against each other. Are we going to see a wrestling match in this fight? Or are we going to get your shitty striking match between two guys that prefer to grapple? I think, Brady, we're going to get the shitty striking match because Aljamain Sterling is going to have a real hard time getting in where he's comfortable on someone like Movsar Evloev. Movsar is a little shorter. He's a little more compact. I don't think Aljamain's going to be able to take him down. I believe Movsar will be able to transition as quickly as Aljamain does, and he'll be able to keep him off of his back. And then when we are striking, Movsar is faster, Movsar is more explosive, and he's got better boxing. I really think Aljamain Sterling might get knocked out in this fight, Brady. I'm going to be looking at that Movsar Evloev KO prop, you guys, and I'm not even joking. I think it's going to be a spot where you want to be on the Movsar money line. The decision is the most likely outcome, but the UFC has pissed off Aljamain Sterling. They know how to push this guy's buttons. They've put him on the undercard, Brady, and he's mad about it. He's like, bro, I'm a former champion. I'm not a preliminary fighter. I'm a main event fighter. You're going to wish you had not put me on the under. He's emotional. He's upset coming into this fight. That tells me he's going to be looking for action. He's going to look to push the pace. This is the wrong guy to do that against. And I know Movsar has in the UFC so far been just a decision machine, but there have been several times where he's cracked people, like a guy like Arnold Allen, just absolutely cracked them with big, powerful shots with his hands. Obviously, not his path to victory against an opponent like that. And then he goes back to the grappling. But it's those flashes, those moments where he does have some success in the striking that I'm looking at this and going, in those transitional moments, Aljo's going to be the one getting hit. We know he does not like getting hit. We know he's been knocked out a couple different times, and he basically has spent his entire career avoiding getting hit. And if he can't get away from Movsar Evloev, he's either going to have to stay on the outside and concede a very boring decision, which I don't think he's going to do, or he's going to have to engage. I do think Movsar Evloev stands a chance to knock out Aljamain Sterling on Saturday. Again, most likely outcome, you guys, is Movsar by decision. But I like the money line. I like him as a parlay piece. I think a lot of people, just like when Aljamain Sterling was a big underdog. Let's see, who was he the underdog against? I am losing my train of thought here.
In his last fight?
Was he an underdog against Calvin Kattar? No, he was a favorite. He was a favorite against Calvin Kattar. Okay, I'm messing up there. I lost my train of thought on that one. We've seen this before, though, where the fan favorite fighter is the trap. And I think that's what's happening here. The bookmakers set Movsar Evloev very solidly as a minus 250 favorite, knowing full damn well that everybody's been printing money, betting on Aljamain Sterling ever since the Jan fight. The only fight that everybody's lost money on was the Sean O'Malley spot. And they went right back to the well with Calvin Kattar, and they got it done with Aljo again. So all the casuals are going to bet Aljamain Sterling on Saturday. It's Movsar season, baby. It's been Movsar season. People just got to find out about it.
Man, the KO is a hot take. We do get the old gloves back, though, so maybe
that's what I'm saying.
Maybe that helps, but even then, I'm not sure. The reason I wanted you to go first is I'm kind of struggling with this fight because I feel like Movsar should win this fight. The problem with Evloev is every fight he just makes it like harder than it needs to be. Like every time I'm betting on Evloev, it's like what are you doing? Like the Arnold Allen fight, there was sketchy moments. Like Nick Lentz had this guy into a couple deep submissions. Like Nick Lentz, a judge actually scored the fight for Nick Lentz. That fight was actually a split decision. Although it shouldn't have been. It's like, geez. The Grundy fight, This guy almost gets tapped out by Grundy. Is able to get out of it. That's great, but just put himself into some sketchy positions. So, yeah, I'm kind of seeing it the same way in a sense that I feel like Evloev, I think is going to be the better wrestler. I think that's key here. He's going to be the bigger fighter as well, stronger fighter. I think he's going to be able to dictate where this fight takes place. I think if he wants takedowns, he can get them easily. Whereas with Sterling, I'm not sure he's going to be able to take down and hold down Evloev especially. So yeah, I think it's going to be Evloev winning a decision, but I do think there could be sketchy moments just due to the fact that, geez, there's a sketchy moment in every single Evloev fight. Like even the Lopez fight, Lopez was getting deep in on a couple submissions in every single round. So that's not really the type of guy I want to lay minus 250 on, but in terms of a win, I'll pick him. But yeah, minus 250, I think I might just sit back and watch this one.
Okay, fair enough, man. Yeah, I'm sure there's going to be some sketchy moments, and Aljamain, don't get me wrong, I'm fully respecting what he's capable of doing, but this guy was a size bully and running out of room with some of that skill at 135 pounds as he gets to the top of 145 pounds. I think his luck's just going to run out, and he's already talking about retiring, man. He wants to move up, and he wants to take a second belt and then retire as a 2-time UFC champ. And if you're already talking the R word, you know, you're sick of cutting weight, you're abandoning your old weight class where you had success. Now you're moving up a weight class and you're pissed off that they're putting you on the undercard and you want to get a belt and immediately ride off into the sunset. It's coming to the end here for Aljamain Sterling. He's been around a long time. This is a changing of the guard type of spot, and one where I think the 18-0 prospect who's got history with this weight class as champion is probably the move. So we'll look at Movsar Evloev in some way, shape, or form here on Saturday, you guys. That's the pick. Bantamweight King has spoken.
Heck yeah. I was shocked to see Evloev by KO is only plus 500.
They know.
Maybe they do know.
They know.
It's not great.
That line should be 10-1, Brady. What are they doing?
Easy.
Man, I'm pissed off. That line should be 10-1, and they're giving me a 5-1. That upsets me. I thought I was going to get so much better value on that.
Books are sharp. They're sharp.
They're getting sharper. I keep telling you guys. See that right there? That's the spot where it's like people are going to call me crazy for saying, the knockout from Movsar Evloev, but I should be able to get, a 14 or a 15-1 on that prop, and then if it hits, look like an absolute mad genius. Instead, it's a 5-1. And I might look like a mad genius. I'm not going to get paid like a mad genius. And that's the problem. That's what makes it hard to stay ahead in the game. We'll see what happens, but let's freaking go. It's Movsar season, baby. Next up, we've got Vicente Luque, and he takes on Themba Gorimbo. Oh my Lord, Brady, can we just take a moment? Can we just take a moment and praise the MMA gods for giving us this fight? This is so much better than Vicente Luque versus Nate Diaz. I know the UFC has a hard-on for absolutely murdering their old stars in front of millions of people on pay-per-view. It gets their rocks off every single time. I don't need to see Nate Diaz die in an octagon, okay? We're beyond it. We don't need it. Thank you for giving us a better matchup. Vicente Luque and Themba Gorimbo makes a ton more sense. Themba is at least in his fighting prime. Vicente Luque, while he may be on a bit of a skid, he may be a bit on the downtrend, he's nowhere near as shot as a guy like Nate Diaz is. So this fight makes way more sense, and it should be far more entertaining. Go ahead and lead us off, man. What do you make of this fight?
This is a very interesting one, a very interesting fight, because if this fight was pre-Jeff Neal for Vicente Luque, I would be max betting Vicente Luque here in this spot. I think it's a phenomenal matchup for him stylistically, because on the feet, I like Luque. This guy, in the past has been very durable and impossible to knock out, has a ton of power, and then he has that really good submission game. He has those Darce chokes. He's a black belt in BJJ. He's hard to take down. He's hard to hold down, and I think it's a great matchup for him. But the problem with Luque is this guy was a guy that, there's some guys you think will never get knocked out. Like Max Holloway was a guy that I never thought would get knocked out. Marlon Vera is another guy that I never thought would get knocked out, and he hasn't yet, but he's starting to get hurt. Vicente Luque was a guy. I was like, this guy's nobody's ever going to finish Vicente Luque. It's not possible. This guy's a brick for a head. And then Jeff Neal kills Luque, literally kills him in the third round, falls face first to the canvas, and apparently he had like a brain hemorrhage. And I'm not a doctor. I'm not a doctor. My wife's a nurse, and I asked her, I said, is a brain hemorrhage a good thing? And she said, no, it's not. It's not a good thing. And that's what he had. And then he went out there against RDA. And after the fight, he basically said that he was scared to get hit. That's why we saw Luque wrestle that entire fight, get 8 takedowns against RDA. He said he was scared to get hit. Vicente Luque, we never thought we'd ever hear him say something like that. And then he straight up quits against Joaquin Buckley. Straight up quits, gets taken down in the second round. Buckley starts raining down ground and pound. He covers up and quits. Vicente Luque. So yeah, if this was pre-Jeff Neal, it's a max bet. I love this fight for him, but it's not. I mean, this guy's taken a ton of damage. He's had a ton of injuries, brain injuries. I don't like that. So I'm going to pump my brakes a little bit, but I still got to go with him here. Plus money on Vicente Luque. Themba Gorimbo, it's like, how does he win this matchup? I don't know. How is he winning all these matchups? He's basically wrestling the entire time, right? And I think that falls right into Vicente Luque's game. Like, I feel like this could look like the Chiesa fight. What happened in that fight? Chiesa went for takedowns and Luque snatched up a neck. And this is a big step up for Gorimbo. This is not Nico Price, Ramiz Brahimaj, Pete Rodriguez, Takashi Sato. And Themba's also taken this fight on short notice. So on the feet, although I think Themba's striking is improving, I don't think he's going to like getting hit by Vicente Luque. Luque still has power. I don't like how Themba reacts to shots. And then Themba's probably going to panic wrestle a lot in this fight. And at that point, I think his neck could get snatched up. So, yeah, it's a tricky one. I think if Luque wasn't like washed and all that, I'd be a lot higher on him. But still, plus money, I'm kind of tempted on Vicente Luque. If we get even half the version of Luque here, I think he wins. But yeah, the brain hemorrhage, that whole brain situation's kind of scaring me a little bit.
Yeah, man, I'm right there with you. I really don't know what to do with this fight because I really think Themba falls again. And you guys, maybe I should classify this. I keep saying he falls into the DDP category. For those of you who are not getting the reference, Dricus du Plessis, your current 185-pound champion of the world, that guy is an absolute freak, right? Like, you think he's completely exhausted. He finds another gear. You think he's about to fade. All of a sudden, he's knocking you out. Like, these guys that just have these freak second wins. They never slow down. They never get tired. They look like they're tired, but they don't fight like they're tired. Those are the guys who I'm putting in the DDP category. And I think Themba kind of belongs in that category, Brady. But at the same time, like you said, he really has been protected by the UFC since he got here, right? Like, the guy has been getting the softest matchmaking possible. Takashi Sato, who we know can't wrestle. Pete Rodriguez, which massive props to him for the knockout that he landed on that one, but guy's been let go by now. Ramiz Brahimaj, who did just go ahead and get a win, but who was looking like he was going to lose his roster spot prior to that. Nico Price, who just looked washed beyond all belief in that last fight as well. Now we're getting to the point where the rubber meets the road, though. Themba Gorimbo is 33 years old. He's already taken a picture with the UFC belt. The guy believes he's going to be champion. And I've said for a long time, Brady, I want that Anthony Smith level delusional self-belief, right? Like, I want you to go out there and think that on your best night, you can take UFC gold. That's the guy I'm putting my money on, because if you're that insane, you're that batshit crazy, you might actually pull it off. Themba's that guy. Themba absolutely has the delusional self-belief that at 33 years old, he's going to end up taking the title in this weight class. But the fact is, in his UFC debut, he got submitted by AJ Fletcher. I think this is a Vicente Luque submission spot if I've ever seen one in my life, man. I like the dog money on Vicente Luque, just like you do at this point. If he's healthy, I could absolutely see Themba landing a nuke on him and, like you said, kind of rattling his brain a little bit and making this a bad spot. But you've got Themba as a minus 155 favorite right now. Vicente Luque, the plus 130 underdog. And I kind of think that Luque, the good money on Luque is gone, right? He was plus 180 as the underdog earlier in the week. If you want to get on this train, you better get on it before it moves. But I do think this is kind of a sharp versus casual type spot where, again, kind of like we talked about with the Aljamain Sterling spot, a lot of people are just going to go to the Themba well because they know Vicente Luque is this washed up shot guy who hasn't done much lately. And Themba is the guy who took a selfie with The Rock, right? A guy whose house was given to him by Dwayne Johnson, who just set back-to-back record-breaking movie Christmas events with 2 movies in theaters at the same damn time, which, by the way, is impressive. Congratulations, Dwayne. That's a big deal. I need to go see Red 1. Moana 2 was good, but Red 1 looks like fun. I have a daughter, you guys. Get off my back. I want to bet Vicente Luque, man. You guys know, you remember the old saying, never fade Vicente Luque. Well, it hasn't been true the last couple of years. We've had to be okay with fading Vicente Luque the last couple of years. But I think it's come full circle, and maybe this is an opportunity where we can do something about it. He put that impressive wrestling game to Rafael dos Anjos and won that fight. I actually think that's something that he might be able to do here, because Themba's not the most technical fighter. A lot of it is based on strength and explosion and things of that nature. Rafael dos Anjos, even today, is just one of the most technical fighters you've ever seen in your life. The UFC, at one time, he was the best 155-pounder on the roster, and up at 170 pounds, only the toppest of the top contenders could beat him a weight class above where he belonged, because he was just that damn good. And if Vicente Luque was able to go out there with a wrestling game plan and take on that guy, I think he can maybe handle a guy like Themba as well in that department. Yeah, man. I think dog money on Vicente Luque is the way to go here.
You know what upsets me a little bit?
What is that, Brady?
I wasn't expecting this line to move as much as it did. People just saw Luque quit. Themba's been winning fights. I wasn't expecting this much money to come in on Luque, but yeah, this line's just getting crushed. The sub prop opened at plus 650. It's already plus 450. Jeez. So people are kind of seeing it the way we are. And the chat said if this was prime Luque, this fight wouldn't even be sanctioned. But yeah, I still like the plus. Even like a 50% Luque, I think gets it done here.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I'm with you, man. I do think that we're getting the raw end of the deal, unfortunately, with the age and the durability and things like that. But with every passing day of Vicente Luque, you'd think his brain probably gets a little bit healthier. He is 33 years old, so it's not like he's a 40-year-old fighter or anything like that. So I kind of trust that he'll be able to hang and be around for a little bit at least still. I worry about the nuke. That's really the big thing, right? I worry about Themba just kind of going, fuck it, and biting down on the mouthpiece and swinging for the fences against a guy who's had some brain issues recently. I could see the KO for Themba being something. But if it's not, then yeah, Vicente's better everywhere.
Yeah.
Interesting fight. Themba by KO is plus 550. Vicente by sub is plus 450. Themba by points is plus 120. Fight goes the distance is minus 180. So they are thinking this thing goes the full 15. Oh, geez. This one's tough. I guess. Okay. All right, Ethan. Ethan in the chat says, give me Themba. Put 2 shots on it. All right, Ethan. I'll take that one. That'll get my juices flowing here for this one. I will take Vicente Luque. You've got Themba Gorimbo in a shot bet, and we'll put 2 on it to decide the winner. All right. I like it. Yeah, Ulysses saying, I hate how we all have to get old. Prime Luque wasn't that long ago. And ain't that the truth, man? Like, the turnover in MMA recently has been nuts. People's primes seem like they're lasting shorter and shorter amounts of time recently, don't it?
Yeah.
It's been weird. Been wild. All right, guys, real quick shout out to the sponsors. As you guys know, this is the home of fight, home of bets. Please do me a favor, subscribe if you haven't. Make sure you're checking out the home of bets premium plays. The link to that is in the description below if you guys would like to check that out. Usually they run a promo code. We don't have one for the show just yet. I will update it if we get a free 5-day pass or something like that for this weekend's code. I'll bet you it's 310. They always do whatever the number is for the UFC numbered stuff. But if you guys want to check that out, link in the description below. We also have Spectation Sports. Promo code DieHard will get you a discount on your subscription to Spectation Sports, and that will get you all the fun shows that are out there, like FAC, like Nashville Underground, like what Broke just started. There's a brand new show. It's basically an alternative to Fight Pass, you guys. If you want to research these fighters as they're coming up for Dana White's Contender Series, this is the place that you need to be, and promo code DieHard will get you there. Next up, Bet Openly. We talked a little bit about it earlier in the show, Brady, but this is peer-to-peer betting. It is the wave of the future. We are closing in on $9 million saved just by offering reduced juice. Look at these numbers, baby. Joshua Van, you're getting a full 10-cent break, minus 139 on this kid, plus 139 on Cody Durden, like we talked about. Let's look. Eric Anders, plus 105, Chris Wyman, minus 105. It's already flipped over here on this site, baby. I'm gonna have to get involved there on that one. But we were just talking about Vicente Luque and Themba Gorimbo, minus 141 for Themba, plus 141 for Luque. The winner of the bet pays the 1% juice, you guys. So win or lose, these better numbers are going to allow you to save money moving forward for basically your entire gambling career. Make sure you're taking advantage. Get signed up. Check the link in the description below. And this week is the finale of the Gauntlet 4. I run a bankroll contest that is MMA betting exclusively, you guys. And the grand finale for 2024 is coming up on this weekend. We've got 7 runners left alive with $600 in prizes. And we're going to be doing giveaways for all kinds of stuff, especially while MMA is on a break. We'll be doing giveaways for other sports, hockey, football, all that kind of stuff. But you've got to be signed up to Bet Openly. And for some of the giveaways, you guys, it's only going to go to people who have actually played on the site. So throw 20 bucks on there, get a deposit in there, make sure you're playing, try it out. You're going to love it. And then you'll be eligible to win some cash and prizes and stuff like that for free from me. Kyle Kelly saying, when are we getting Bet Openly in Canada? Is it not available in Canada? I thought it was. I think they're open everywhere. Let me check this thing real quick here. Bet Openly is operating everywhere except, let's see, Hawaii, Indiana, Nevada, New Jersey in the States. International, they're operating everywhere except for Africa and the Middle East. My friend, you can access Bet Openly in Canada. And I will tell you guys, actually, it's my secret weapon because my family goes on vacations in California all the time, Brady. Mm-hmm. They haven't legalized sports gambling in California. But because it is technically, like, legally speaking, they were able to get it pushed through as like a fantasy site because you can do like DFS parlays and all that kind of stuff on it. It's approved and it goes through and it works in California. So I play on Bet Openly every time we go to California when nothing else works. Bet Openly works. So if you're in some place that isn't legalized or something like that, especially like my guy Kyle, who thinks, Canada needs some help, Bet Openly's active, you guys. Hit the button, check it out, start saving money. You will enjoy it. All right, guys, back to the good stuff. Brady obviously joining me here. DFS by the numbers, my guy, swooping in here on short notice to do the show. UFC 310 betting, gambling, perspective, breakdowns. Welcome, and thank you for being here. We've got over 900 of you joining here today. We appreciate you guys being here to talk some fights with us. Next up, we've got my guy, Anthony Lionheart Smith himself, taking on Dom the Devastator Reyes. Brady, this is another weird one, man. This one's weird because a couple of months, 1 year ago, Dom Reyes is dead to the world. We think he's completely washed up and he's shot. And Anthony Smith is probably the favorite in this fight because he is at least hanging around with some of these guys at the top end of the division. Well, Dom Reyes snaps a 4-fight losing skid with a big win over Dustin Jacoby, a big round 1 finish. He's back, baby. Everyone's back. We're on the train. We love the guy. It looks like he still got it. And then you got Anthony Smith, who's getting beaten by Roman Dolidze. You get the guy who's getting scary knocked out against Khalil Roundtree. And we get put in this really weird position where it's like, oh, damn. Like, these guys have really shifted where I think of them mentally in the last year or so. Dom Reyes is a minus 345 favorite. Anthony Smith, the plus 275 underdog. And Brady, this is exactly the kind of spot where I like to look at my guy, Anthony Smith. The problem is I don't know what he's got in this fight because Dom Reyes, he got, sparked by Ryan Spann. Everybody gets sparked by Ryan Spann. He got melted by Yuri. Everybody gets melted by Yuri. He looked like $1 million in that fight. Yuri talked about how he got knocked down in that fight, and he woke up in the middle of the fight. So, you could have an alternate universe where Dominick Reyes knocked out Yuri Prochazka, and he never touched UFC gold because nobody noticed he was out on his feet in the middle of that first round. So Dom Reyes has still got serious potential. He's got good striking. He's got good boxing. He's got good power. He hits like a truck for this weight class. Anthony Smith, the durability seems to be falling off a little bit. He's been KO'd 10 times, and the guy has got something like 72 professional fights. No, really, it's 57 total, but that's just a ton of wear and tear on your body. But I can't count out like the Vitor Petrino sub spot. I hit the 14-1 on Anthony Smith taking the neck of Vitor Petrino that night. And that was a fun cash. Let me tell you, that was a fun one to hit. But every once in a while, he just ass pulls a win on one of these guys. I don't think he can strike with Dom Reyes. And I think Dom Reyes is a better athlete and he's got better wrestling. He's not going to be able to get the takedowns on Dom Reyes to use what I would perceive as a grappling advantage for Anthony Smith. That's kind of always been his thing, is he has to rely on you taking him down or the fight getting to the ground via knockdown, something of that effect to get going. I really just feel like we're at the end of the road, unfortunately, for Anthony Smith. And Dom Reyes probably hurts him on the feet early. But I also am very skeptical of the durability of Dom Reyes. I wouldn't be shocked if, the beating he took from Yuri and Jan have just completely broken the guy as far as his durability is concerned. And I would not count out Anthony Smith landing a big shot on the feet and changing the tide of this fight in a hurry. I'll say Dom Reyes, but it's another one where I do not like this money line number. It would be a dog or pass bet if I was going to take a side gambling on this one. And Anthony Smith only ever gets it done inside the distance. So I would be looking for some extra juice on that number and look on something for like a finish, a KO, or a sub.
Yeah, another gross line here. Like you said, it wasn't too long ago. Everybody thought Dominick Reyes was completely done. I'm pretty sure he was an underdog against Jacoby, right? I'm pretty sure.
I think he was.
Yeah, I think he was
plus 200.
Oh, he's plus 200?
Yeah.
Yeah, just goes to show. And then he goes out there and knocks out Jacoby. I don't know, man. I think Reyes should win this fight. I've always been counting out Anthony Smith. It seems like a lot of people always count out Anthony Smith. Like, I didn't expect him to submit Vitor Petrino. I can't believe you had the sub. That's wild. That's a wild call. I was not expecting that at all. He just seems to kind of always find a way to win when you least expect it. And I kind of don't expect him to win this fight. Like, I think it's a really good matchup for Reyes. I think Reyes has the takedown defense to keep this upright. I think these guys are going to primarily strike. And if they do, I think Reyes is the much better striker, has a ton of power. We've seen both guys get hurt, but we've seen Smith get hurt quite a bit. So yeah, I think it's probably Reyes by knockout, Reyes inside the distance, but minus 330 on Dominick Reyes, no thank you. Like, even the props is like, fight doesn't go minus 325. It's a lot to lay. Reyes inside the distance, minus 175. Just nothing really sticking out here. But yeah, I got to go Reyes by knockout. But Smith's a guy that I always kind of hesitate in terms of completely counting him out, because you can't. Sometimes he shows up and looks really good. Sometimes it shows up and looks awful, like the Delidze fight. He looked awful in that fight. There's a couple other fights he looked awful, but sometimes he goes out there and pulls off the upset when people least expect it. But yeah, it's Reyes KO, but I don't think I'll be touching this one.
Yeah, man, I'm struggling on this one, which is weird because I've had such a good run on both of these guys. I had Dom Reyes at plus 195 for 2 units in that last fight against Dustin Jacoby. So like, I feel like I've had a very, very good read on these guys. Just generally speaking. Yeah, I really, really like taking the buy low spots on these guys. I feel like 205 is just the wasteland of recency bias right now, man. Like, these guys are not that much worse or better than each other by a mile. And so you get these gigantic price tags when it's like, these guys really are much closer in reality. So I like to bet the dogs, and everybody's got knockout power at this weight class. Everybody can submit people at this weight class, and it just comes down to who lands first on the night. Anthony Smith has shown that if he's not fighting a contender, if he's fighting somebody who's anywhere near the ballpark of his level, he's a motherfucker, man. He just refuses to die in there, and he will go out and put you through hell. The Ryan Spann fight, arguably a bad split decision, but it was a close fight that went all 15 minutes. That just speaks to Ryan Spann not being able to win a fight if it gets out of the first round, which is pretty classic. Khalil Roundtree is in career best form and just fought for the title, even though I don't necessarily think he deserved to. That's where he's at right now. So getting finished by that guy is not a super bad look. Anybody who's got a wrestling advantage over Anthony Smith, that's really the way you beat him right now, because he's more than happy to take bottom position and play off his back and look for a sweep or look for a sub. The thing is, I don't know if Dom Reyes is smart enough to do that. I actually think Dom Reyes is the kind of guy who wants to bite on the mouthpiece and go out there and trade. And if you do that, yeah, you might hurt Anthony Smith. You might hit him hard enough to make him quit. You might rattle his brain a little bit and he'll go away. But you're not durable at all yourself. And doing that, you're leaving that door open for a guy like Anthony Smith, who, even though he's not your one-hitter quitter type, I mean, the dude's got 19 wins by KO. He hurts people on the feet. He's done it a bunch of times. Who was it that, was it Glover or Rakic? One of those guys he absolutely cracked. And there was a moment where it looked like he might get like a standing TKO win, and it ended up not, finishing it that way. But he can spark people, man. He doesn't have one hitter quitter KO power, but he does have stinging power on the feet, and that could be enough against the guy like Dominick Reyes. So I would look at an under. Thank you. Huevos remembers Glover was the one that he did it to. Thank you. I would expect Dominick Reyes should win this fight, but again, this number is just sickening. And I want to listen to some of these fighter interviews. This is one where I think it's very, very important to know where your fighter's mindset is at coming into it, because the closer we get to the end of the line for Anthony Smith, the more I'll be willing to kind of bet against him, because he has kind of folded it up a couple times and just kind of taken his L and turtled up and gone into a position where he's protecting himself and not taking in any additional damage and that kind of stuff. But if he comes out feeling disrespected, that's the most dangerous Anthony Smith on planet Earth. When people look past him, when people think he doesn't belong, when people tell him to hang it up and he's pissed off and he's actually legitimately full of piss and vinegar, that Anthony Smith hurts people. So, patent pending, you guys. I'm going to wait on this one. I'll be seeing what these interviews sound like and be taking a look maybe a little bit later in the week. One thing I do want to look at, though, is how this line has moved. Dom Reyes opened up about minus 310. He's now about minus 350. So as to be expected, the favorite took a little bit of action, and he did open up pretty decently. Not many people are interested in the dog on this side, as to be expected. So no surprise there.
I kind of don't mind like the under 7.5 minutes. Both guys' durability is a question. Both guys have stopping power. Kind of don't mind that under at plus money.
Yeah. I don't hate that at all. Plus 120 for the under 1.5.
Old gloves.
That's the ticket right there. Let's see. Anthony Smith by knockout is plus 600. Smith by sub is 10-1. That's always Old Faithful. Dom Reyes by KO is minus 150. I don't mind that. I actually think Dom Reyes by KO is probably that's playable at minus 150. But like I was mentioning before, man, if you want to take like a path of least resistance type of win, Dom Reyes by points at plus 400. If this is that one where the fight should just never go the distance, but for some reason it does because he comes out with the wrestling style game plan or something like that, yeah. I could see that one messing everybody's night up, where Dom Reyes wins a very boring decision staying on top of him or something. Oh, all right, guys. That's enough. We're kind of losing track on that one. I apologize. We'll get this thing back on the rails. Next fight up, we've got Nate the Train Landwehr taking on Do Ho Choi, the Korean Superboy, who, Brady, you've got to tell me a little bit about this fight, man, because I like both these guys. This one should be a banger, but Do Ho Choi, I was ready to leave him for dead, and then he came back and wrecked Bill Aljo on me. Just the kind of year I'm having. So I need some help on this one, man. Talk to me about this fight. What do you think of it?
Yeah, this is actually my favorite fight on the entire card in terms of like an entertainment perspective. Like, I'm glad this is on the main card. I don't mind that at all, because this fight's going to be phenomenal. Like, how can you not be looking forward to, and really any Nate Landwehr fight, anytime this guy's in there against anybody, it's always going to be a fun and exciting fight. And you could say the same exact thing for Do Ho Choi. Like, Do Ho Choi's been in a bunch of fun fights. Like, that Algio fight was a fun fight. The Jeremy Stevens fight, that Cub Swanson fight was an awesome fight. Charles Jourdain against Do Ho Choi was awesome. So I think they're taking two fan favorite type fighters that are down to stand there and swing dicks, and I think that's exactly what they're going to do. So me and Weezy talked about this fight last night on our show, and somebody made a comment and said that I think this fight is going to come down to who is reffing it. And I actually totally agree, because Nate Landwehr gets hurt in every single first round. We saw David Onama almost get him out of there. We saw Julian Erosa flying knee him. We saw Herbert Burns get him with a knee as well, knock him out. We saw even Dan Ige hurt this guy. And the thing with Nate Landwehr is he's going to get hurt, but his recoverability is pretty good. And I could see something like that happening here. I could see Do Ho Choi just hurting Landwehr very, very badly. And I think it's going to come down to the referee, right? Like if Jason Herzog's in there, for example, he's not stopping the fight. Jason Herzog will never stop a fight ever. He'll give Nate Landwehr time to recover. But if Chris Tione's in there, I think Tony might, stop the fight, early on, or Herb Dean, type thing. So I think that it's going to be Choi landing some big shots early. I think he's going to knock down Landwehr. But as this fight goes on, I think that's going to favor Landwehr. We've seen Choi finish later on in fights before. Landwehr is an absolute dog. You have to absolutely kill him to get him out of there. So I just think I like violence here quite a bit. I think the fight doesn't go to decision is a very good look, and it's not even a terrible price. It has gotten smashed. Geez, it opened up minus 130. Opened up minus 130. I think that was a gift. It's now minus 170. I think these guys are going to stand there. They're going to measure dicks, and I think it's going to come down to who has the bigger dick. And I think that's Nate Landwehr. I think Nate Landwehr has the bigger dick here. So give me a Landwehr, and I think it's like a 2-3 type situation. But I think somebody's getting knocked out brutally. These old gloves, I think they're going to come into play. I think someone's getting served here.
I like it, man. I like the violence look. I really do. The thing with this fight for me, and I've said it a lot, man. Nate Landwehr has a special condition. I mean, he is a mutant of the highest order. And it all comes down to the first time you hurt him. If you hit him hard enough to put him away, he's chinny. And I mean like straight up chinny. Like you see stuff land on him and he is hurt. Like he's wobbled, he's rocked. And if you follow up, he goes out. It is not hard to knock out Nate Landwehr. The trick is if you let him off the hook, he becomes invincible. Like the very first time you rock Nate the Train, he is capable of being finished. But if you don't put your stamp on him and actually completely put him away that very first time, he never gets hurt ever again the entire rest of the fight. And that's when you see him showboating, yelling at Dana, dropping his hands and walking towards you. Like he just doesn't feel pain for the rest of the fight if you let him off the hook in that first exchange. So this fight is going to be determined extremely early, in my opinion. I think Doo Ho Choi is a guy who is got a technical advantage over a lot of people that he's going to fight, but I don't think he's a fighter. Nate the Train is the exact opposite. He's a fighter of the highest caliber, and he is not the most technical guy, but he's in there to whoop your ass. And I love that about Nate the Train. So this sets up a lot, I think, like the Doo Ho Choi and Jeremy Stephens fight. I think early on, Doo Ho Choi is going to have success. I think early on, Doo Ho Choi is going to be able to find his way to Nate Landwehr. I think he's probably going to hurt him a couple of times. The problem is, I don't think Doo Ho Choi has that killer instinct. He wants to let the finish come to him. And while that kind of patience, I think usually is a positive, I think usually that's something that you want in your fighter, where they don't rush the finish. They let it come to them. They let it naturally take place. That's the wrong strategy against Nate the Train, because if you let him off the hook, he's going to find your button instead. So as the fight gets going, I think Nate's going to have more and more success. You know, Jeremy Stephens, Charles Jourdain, they both put Doo Ho Choi out in the second round when the fight turned into a brawl. Nate's going to do the same thing. When this fight becomes a brawl, he's going to be the one who has more success. So if the fight ends early, buyer be warned, because I think Doo Ho Choi probably is on the right side of it when that happens. But if the fight gets extended even just a little bit, I think it's all one-sided Nate the Train. I'd be looking at round 2, round 3 KO props for Nate personally. He'll be my pick.
Yep, and like I said, give me that violence, man. I like it. I'm kind of upset it moved that much, but there's a reason why, I think. I mean, these guys are going to stand there and bang.
Yeah, absolutely. And Red said saying Choi wins the first, Nate the second and third, Nate by decision. Frankly, I don't think this fight can make it to a decision that way, though. If Choi is the nail in this spot, I have a hard time seeing him making it to the final bell. Good luck. I don't want to poo-poo on anybody else's bet or read. Obviously, you could absolutely be right. But I don't think that Choi is a good nail.
Exactly.
And that's important in this fight. You got to be able to be a nail and take it and then return. Kyle Kelly says, give me the guy with the bigger dick. Let's go, Brady.
Yeah, we don't have that in the stat. They don't do that yet. Not yet. So
they should. They just add a measurement, and you don't have to say what it is. We know. We got it. All right, guys. Next up, you've got Thug Nasty. He takes on Kron, Gracie in the what the fuck fight of the night. I don't understand what we're doing here, Brady. I don't get why this fight is even on the card. So Bryce Mitchell, he lost a couple of additional brain cells. He already thought the earth was flat. I am terrified to think of what this guy has running through his mind at this point after being absolutely deaded by Josh Emmett. Well, one of the scariest knockouts in UFC history. I mean, Bryce was out for 8 minutes and then was coming back convulsing. You know the UFC likes you when you get a match made like Bryce Mitchell, because I swear to you, man, there's fighters on this roster who, after that kind of KO loss, would get matched up against any guy. They'd be like, get on back in there, bud. Like, let's go do this again. Run it back. Bryce Mitchell instead gets the pillow-fisted Kron Gracie, the poor IQ Kron Gracie, the jiu-jitsu guy that has never been able to put a full MMA game together, Kron Gracie, the 5-2, 36-year-old Kron Gracie, who just lost back-to-back decisions against Cub Swanson and Charles Jourdain. If this guy doesn't get you on the ground, if he can't use Granddaddy's jiu-jitsu, Kron Gracie is not winning a fight. Now, Bryce Mitchell will look to wrestle, so this fight should hit the ground at some point, but they're saving Bryce Mitchell's chin. After getting absolutely destroyed in his last fight, they're like, let's give you a guy that's gonna grapple. Kron Gracie's only path to victory is the submission in this spot. Really, I think that Bryce Mitchell wins however he wants to in this spot, Brady. I doubt he gets a KO just because that's not really his MO, but he will come out there aggressive and he'll do what he can. He'll look for the submission himself. It reminds me back when Matt Hughes fought one of the Gracies, and it was like, Matt Hughes is a well-rounded MMA fighter, an absolute beast of a man, taking on an older jiu-jitsu guy who's not cutting weight. He submitted one of the Gracies, and it was a huge notch in his belt for that. I think we could see that here in this spot, where maybe Bryce Mitchell is just too physical, too powerful, too strong, gets an arm triangle or something, and big bros Kron Gracie, and maybe we can finally be done with the Gracies. You know what, Brady? Let me just for a second. Give me a second. I am sick and tired of the Gracies in MMA, you guys. I'm over it. Okay, I'm done with it. No disrespect. I know we wouldn't have MMA or the UFC without the Gracies. I get it. I know that. I want to give them their flowers. They deserve to be here if they want to be here. But get your ass in the Muay Thai gym. Go get a coach. You cannot do nothing but boot, scoot, and jiu-jitsu your way to wins in MMA in 2024. Someone show the bastard how to throw a knee. These guys have got to learn Muay Thai. They've got to figure out how to box. Somebody's got to teach them how to wrestle. I know they're legacy people. I know the Gracies are important to what we do, and we should honor and respect them. But shit, one of these guys has got to figure out how to fight before we let them in the UFC. I'm sick of seeing them on my TV. You can go now.
Okay. No.
Sorry.
Oh no, you're good. No, it's fine to be upset. We be passionate. No, this fight, man. Yeah, I'm shocked at a couple things. I'm shocked that this fight's on the pay-per-view. I don't get that. What I also don't get is I'm shocked to see Kron Gracie back in there. I thought this guy retired. I thought this guy was never stepping foot in the cage again. Because how could you? How could you step in the cage again after that performance against Charles Jourdain? We've seen some terrible, terrible performances in our days, but that performance against Charles Jourdain was the worst performance I think I've ever seen in my entire life. He didn't show up. He pulled guard 50 times. He looked like he didn't want to be in there. And even like that whole fight week, it's like he had that I don't care type attitude. And yeah, in the fight, it showed the same thing. I don't care. It looks like he does not care. It looks like he's clearly just showing up for a paycheck. So I'm 110% with you. And my hot take of the week is I think Bryce Mitchell finishes Kron Gracie. And Bryce Mitchell hasn't finished many people, but I think he's going to finish Kron Gracie because I don't think Kron Gracie cares. I don't think he wants to be in there. I think he basically quit against Charles Jourdain, and I think he's going to quit here. I think he's showing up for a paycheck. I think Bryce Mitchell's going to take him down. I think he's going to wear on him, and I think Kron Gracie's going to get tired of it, and he's either going to get tapped out or pounded out. So I like Bryce Mitchell actually inside the distance. Was hoping for a little bit better of a line because, like I said, he never finishes anybody. But yeah, I think Mitchell just finishes him, and I think Gracie's going to quit, look for a way out. I don't think he's showing up here to win. I think he's showing up for a paycheck. This fight makes no sense.
I like it, Brady. I really do. I actually like the hot take on the finish. And with the size favorite that Bryce Mitchell is right now, that makes sense. I mean, he's a minus 800 favorite in a lot of places right now. So, you know, if you guys want to throw him in the useless parlay, I guess go for it. Frankly, Bryce Mitchell has all kinds of viral moments. You know, I hope he brings his Bible to the to the cage again this time
Yep.
around. But I do think the finish is on the table. I'm right there with you. Bryce Mitchell by points is minus 200, so you're not getting a discount on that one. And Bryce Mitchell by sub is plus 550, which actually does seem a little surprising to me. I know he's going up against a Gracie, so you're not expecting a Gracie to get submitted in this kind of spot. But like I said, man, you look back at that Matt Hughes fight as an example. It's just this smashing, overwhelming wrestling strength that these guys don't have. And it's the cardio, and it's the take you down and let you get up and take you down again. And eventually you're going to wear out and give up a position, and the strength and the squeeze. If you guys have never had a wrestler who weighs roughly about the same size as you, but is about 10 times stronger than you, throw an arm triangle on you, there's nothing you can do. Yeah, you can have the right technique, and he will still cut off the blood flow to your brain. Trust me, I've been there. So I do think the sub is going to be live for Bryce Mitchell in this spot. I like the call, Brady. I do.
Yeah, and like you said, Bryce Mitchell's probably going to try to prove a point. Like, how awesome would it be to sub a Gracie? Like, we saw Rodolfo Vieira get subbed by Fluffy. Like, go out there and prove a point. I think he's gonna try to. I think he'll for sure try to.
I'm right there with you. And MMA JP saying if Kron gets subbed, he would get disowned. And that's true. That's absolutely true, but that doesn't mean it won't happen.
Yeah, it'd be hilarious.
It would be hilarious. And like we were talking about with Pereira earlier, man, walk that man into the cage, take his black belt. You just take it away. You give him a brown and be like, you are officially demoted. All right. Like I want to see old man Gracie walk in there and take Kron's belt away from him. He deserves it after the last performance anyway.
Yeah. Terrible.
Next up, guys, we've got the return of Ciryl Gane taking on Alexander Volkov, my favorite Russian, coming back around here in a rematch. They are running it back, Brady. This one doesn't make a ton of sense to me. I mean, it doesn't. It doesn't. You know, Ciryl Gane took a break to go be a movie star. We know these guys need to get set up outside the cage. But in his absence, Volkov has been doing nothing but whoop ass. He's coming off of 4 fights in a row. And he looked like $1 million against Sergey Pavlovich. This guy figured out the puzzle. He had Sergey on the ropes. He didn't want to hurt the guy and won dominantly. Could have finished him probably if you really wanted to. Ciryl Gane, he's one of these weird ones that he's 34 years old. He was kind of a late bloomer. He's stupid athletic at heavyweight, but since he got to the top, he won the interim title. He's been 1-1 since. The losses to Francis Ngannou and John Jones, that's nothing to sniff at. You know, he's finishing guys like Tai Tuivasa and Sergey Spivak. He does have a win over Alexander Volkov, but I feel like that was one of the worst fights Volkov has ever fought that night. I kind of feel like this is your classic, the fight doesn't go the same way twice situation. I really could feel like Volkov, even being the older fighter, maybe wants it a little bit more at this stage of his career. A couple of adjustments now that he's ready for the length and the speed and the explosion. I think Volkov could have a better performance here. Does that mean he wins the fight? I'm not entirely certain that it does, because you can't really knock out Ciryl Gane. You know, John Jones was able to take him down, expose him on the mat, and submit him. Volkov's not doing that. Francis Ngannou was able to out-wrestle him, sit on top of him for 25 minutes. Volkov's not doing that. I mean, you know, Volkov's a guy that's going to go out there and strike with you, and he's going to try to hurt you on the feet. That's kind of his only path to victory. I don't think he's got the wrestling chops that it would take to beat someone like Ciryl Gane, and that's a skill set you would think that Ciryl Gane is working on, considering his only 2 losses are by wrestling. So it's probably going again here. But man, I love Volkov. Drago has been paying the bills for everybody the last couple of years. He's on one hell of a run right now, and he's never looked better, especially with his win over Sergey Pavlovich. I kind of feel like I got to take the shot on the dog in this spot. But at the same time, I've doubted Ciryl Gane before. I don't know. For some reason, I'm just not a Gane believer, Brady. I'm not sure what it is, but I've never felt like he's all that. And I'm not sure that a break to go make a movie is going to make him any better.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not high on Gane at all. I think he's a phenomenal fighter. I think he's incredible. It's just I think he's so boring, dude. Like a point fighting heavyweight fighter. He's so good. Don't get me wrong. Just so hard to watch. Yeah. So this is a fight where it's like minus 340 for Ciryl Gane. Like, how does he look minus 340? I just don't get it. It's absolutely a dogger pass. What I do like though is they have those plus 3.5 point spread bets. I think Volkov can win 1 round. I think he can win 1 round. So that's kind of how I'm going to look at it. But yeah, as far as a pick, we saw the first fight, right? In that first fight, we saw that Gane, there's a little bit more volume, a lot quicker. I think speed is huge here in favor of Gane. So yeah, I slightly favor Gane, but minus 340. It's like Gane's not knocking out Volkov. In theory, Volkov has all the grappling upside. Volkov is either a brown belt or a black belt. I think it'd be wise for him to try to wrestle. I'm not counting on it. Don't get me wrong, because if he didn't do it across 5 rounds, why would he do it here? But if he does, like, I think Gane has a huge hole in his game. So yeah, I just think you can't lay minus 340 on Ciryl Gane here. This fight's probably going to decision. It's probably going to be competitive. So I like that plus 3.5 on Volkov there. I saw it at plus 120. I'm going to see where it's at other books. But I think at the very least, no matter what, he can win at least 1 round and not get finished. That's kind of what I'm taking here.
I like that. I don't mind that whatsoever. You know, Ciryl Gane by points is minus 155, it looks like. When DraftKings drops the plus 3.5, I'll be curious to see what that number looks like. I do think that you're probably right. This fight probably does end up going the distance, and in doing so, you would expect there to be moments of opportunity for a guy like Alexander Volkov to steal those away. Yeah, I'm with you, man. Ciryl Gane, for being a guy that is so athletic and explosive and quick, he's such a freak of nature on the feet. He's just so boring to watch, you know? Everything is just out of reach. Everything is just out of range. And he's masterful. Don't get me wrong, but God, it's like watching paint dry.
Yeah, I said the same exact thing, and yeah, it's kind of annoying. Like typically for a heavyweight fight, you wouldn't get a fight goes at minus 275. It's like I like the fight goes, but laying minus 275 for a fight goes in heavyweight fights kind of wild. You don't really ever see that.
Yeah, and you know what, Brady? I already said it, but rematches never go the same.
That's true.
It is so hard for you to put a couple people in a cage and have it to go the exact same way twice. It normally doesn't happen because both people are in different stages of their lives. Both people have studied and made adjustments. Like, it's just never the exact same. So I expect this fight to go a little different. Does Volkov bite down on the mouthpiece and come forward more? Maybe. Does Ciryl Gane look to make a statement instead of being boring in his comeback fight and putting an emphasis on beating the guy that he's beaten already? Maybe so. Like, there's just a lot of ways that this fight could be a banger when compared to the first time around. So I wouldn't be looking at an over. And I know everything with Ciryl Gane says over, but I can't help but think one of these guys looks for a finish instead of letting the fight slide this time. I would be looking to kind of buck the trend and look for a heavyweight under instead.
I hope so. I mean, their first fight was just so boring. Like I rewatched, I fell asleep during it. It was just so boring.
Yeah. Yeah, Dixon Sider says, except for Piani Kinzad and Macy Chiesa, that fight literally went the exact same. And you are correct, Dixon. There's an exception to every rule. So you're absolutely right. That fight was identical. Hilarious. All right, guys, we're getting to the good stuff here. Co-main event, we've got Shavkat Rakhmonov. He takes on Ian Machado, Garry the Future. This is a fun fight, Brady. You know, it's interesting because these guys actually have very similar resumes. This was supposed to be Shavkat Rakhmonov's title shot against my boy Belal Muhammad. I want to see that fight. I want to watch Belal take out Shavkat, and I want to watch the world burn because people just can't stand the thought of Belal Muhammad being good enough to be champion, and he is, and everyone has to deal with it, and I love it. I love every second of it, and I love cashing big plus money tickets on him. It's been a fantastic ride just sticking with Belal through this entire run here. But this fight, frankly, against undefeated prospects, this kind of feels like what should be happening, right? Like, we've got the 2 hottest prospects in the division. Both are undefeated. They're going to have to take each other on eventually. And now they're vying for a number 1 contender slot. I love this fight. This is what MMA is all about. This is where shit gets good. So I like this fight, man. I can't wait to watch this one. Ian Garry has been a guy I've been printing money with. You know, he's a Sean O'Malley-esque guy where people just absolutely hate him. They hate his wife. They hate his gimmick. I completely understand. I'm not a big fan either. But when it comes to betting, the guy knows how to win fights. And he's just been printing since he got to the UFC. Even in that fight against Michael Venom Page, I will just do everything I can in my power, Brady, not to go off on how I lost on the submission prop yet again, beating the number and the line move by a mile, having the arm under the chin, but not being able to find the sub. Ian really let me down that night. I was very, very upset. That was my moment. I've been betting Ian Garry sub since he got here because I know he's got it in his back pocket, but he just can't quite find it in the cage for me. So I'm still a little bit bothered by that. I don't think he's submitting Shavkat Rakhmonov, but what we should see here is a technical striking fight. You know, for a 15-minute high-level, it looks like this is a 5-round co-main event. Even better. Yeah. So for a 25-minute fight, it's going to be interesting because Shavkat is a guy who I'm not sure what he looks like in the later rounds. Nobody's really been able to get there. right? Like he always manages to hurt somebody. He always manages to find a neck. He always manages to get them out of there in the second or the third round. Ian Machado, Garry, he's gone the distance a couple different times. Actually, a lot recently he's gone the distance. He's one of these guys that finds ways to win. So I think he's being a little bit overlooked here, a little bit underrated here. He's very defensively solid. He's got a good chin, very good technique and striking, distance range management. I'll give Shavkat the edge in like the power and the raw athleticism and things of that nature. But he's still very, very much untested. I could see this being the type of fight where we somehow get into the 5th round and it's 2-2 going into 5 and who wants it more in the 5th. I, believe it or not, could see that there's a shot Ian Garry manages to pull this damn thing off. I will. Oh God, am I really going to pick Ian Garry? Oh, I'm going to pick Ian Garry by decision. Brady, I'm going to pick Ian Garry to upset the apple cart, piss everybody off, take out the guy with the fuzzy hat, and be the Link Memorial Dog of the Week. It feels all gross inside, you guys. It makes me feel all nasty in there. I don't like it. But Ian Garry knows how to win fights, and I think he's going to upset a lot of people. And Ian Garry by decision is plus 650. That will be on my card.
All right, there you go. Yeah, I mean, it's one of those fights where I like Shavkat to win, but minus 350. I was kind of shocked to see where the line was at. But I got to go Shavkat here. I just think that both guys are very hittable. But I think Shavkat has the power in this fight. We've seen Ian Garry hurt a ton. We saw him hurt against Jordan Williams. We saw him get hurt against Song Kanan. So I think although Garry is the better striker, absolutely, I think Shavkat can land some big shots here. And if this fight hits the ground, it's like Shavkat's ground game is no joke whatsoever. I know Gary's been working on that ground game and all of that, but if Shavkat gets on top, I think he can do some damage. And I agree with what Dixon's saying in the chat. I do think these first couple of rounds are going to be kind of boring. I think both these guys are going to feel it out a little bit, especially Ian Garry. I don't think he's going to want to engage with Shavkat early on. So I would be looking at like some overs here. I think this fight's going to get extended. If not, like go the full 25 here potentially, which is crazy to say because Shavkat has not even went 15 yet, but I can see this fight getting extended 3rd, 4th, 5th round, if not going the distance. So I'd be looking at late Shavkat props or like overs, but other than that, I don't want to lay minus 350 on Shavkat because I could see this being close. If Shavkat's not able to get the fight down to the mat, if we get a fight that takes place on the feet, yeah, Gary's very, very live to win that fight. Absolutely. So, yeah, the pick Shavkat, I think eventually he does get the fight down to the mat and lock something in. But I'm liking overs more than anything, I think. I think it's either a late finish or a decision.
I'm actually glad that you said that, Brady, because even more so, this card is tough, you guys. The Link Dog of the Week is mostly because I don't like a ton of other dogs. Like, looking back through the card, maybe Vicente Luque is somebody who we like, but like Eric Anders is a pick'em. I like Josh Van, who is a favorite. Max Griffin is the favorite. Chase Hooper is the favorite. Lukasz Brzeski, I can't get close to. Like, so there's not a lot of dogs on this card that I'm super interested in. I'm sure some of these shorter coin flippy type of dogs, one of these guys is going to come through. So I'm not even really loving the dog of the week call here on Ian Garry. I just think he probably has the best shot of everybody in this spot to maybe pull off the upset. I like the overs way better, Brady. I actually really like, we've talked about before, the butthole pucker of the week. You ladder the overs. You get the over 2.5, you lay the chalk, you get the plus money on the over 3.5, and the fight goes the distance, something like that for sprinkles. I like that in this fight. I think the deeper it goes, the more you get paid. And I do expect it to get to that 3rd round. Ian Garry has become kind of masterful at dragging fights deep. So I fully expect this fight to go that direction. And it's just a matter of, can we get there? I do think the over 2.5 is probably the play.
Yep. I think Gary's going to do everything in his power not to engage early on. Because why would you against Shavkat? Yeah. Like early on, this guy's very dangerous. Yeah, I like the overs as well.
Well, look at his last fight against Michael Venom Page. That as soon as he got touched by Page, he was like, nope. That fight shut down real quickly. But then in the 2nd round, he made some adjustments, and he was the one doing just enough to squeeze by on the judges' scorecards. He was the one who was just outpointing his opponent. So he knows how to handle the power. He knows how to avoid the power. He knows how to grapple. Like, unless Shavkat is just next level beast, which frankly he could be. You guys know me. I'm the guy who's never sold on anybody, right? I'm the guy who wasn't sold on Alex Pereira. Like, until you show me that you're that next level special, like, I just can't quite believe that you are. And both these guys are undefeated. Both these guys have passed every test in front of them. Shavkat has done it with flying colors. He's been more impressive doing so, but technically this is the right fight. They're both at the right spots in their career as far as getting through this spot. Yeah, Doritos saying, I know, wait a second. I know that happened, buddy. Clint said Shavkat not tested. You understand. Okay, I'm not sure if you're talking to me or not. No. I'm saying he's not tested in the deeper rounds, Doritos. You misunderstood me. He's not tested later in the fight. He's winning fights in the first and second round, and we've never seen him in round 3. That's what I'm talking about.
Jeff Neal was round 3, but that's it.
Oh, Jeff Neal was round 3, wasn't it? I thought that was round 2. My mistake. Well, but I'm expecting this fight to get to round 4, round 5. So I'm talking about the later rounds of a fight. I do apologize if there was some confusion there. Anyway, should be a fun fight. And I'm with Brady. I think the 2.5, the over, is more the bet than picking a side.
Yep, I like that.
All right. It's main event time, people. We've got over 1,000 live viewers. Thank you all so much for tuning into the show tonight. And hit the like button for me if you haven't already. Make sure you're checking out Brady. He is DFS by the numbers, friend of the show, regular guest of the show. Love having the guy on here to talk fights tonight. Let's go. A main event. Alexandre Pantoja welcoming UFC newcomer Kai Asakura. And what happened in this spot, Brady, is the UFC literally ran out of people to throw at Alexandre Pantoja. If I could just for a moment weep at my lost opportunity. You guys, I do a futures show every year at the beginning of the year. We break down, the books, MMA futures and what they've got available, who we think are a couple of good dart throws. And I'm always of the impression that you take some of the long shot dart throws, the guys you're not really expecting to be there, rather than laying the minus 225 Islam to still retain his belt, etc. You take that stab at those guys that are 10, 15 to 1, but you could see working themselves into contention. I have technically still until the end of the year at least, but the tickets are going to be dead. I've got Manokop to be champion at 14 to 1 in pocket. And I also have Muhammad Mokaev to be champion in pocket at 10 to 1, Brady. And they fought in a number 1 contenders title eliminator just a couple months ago. And what did the UFC do? Cut both their asses. The fight was so bad. They sent Muhammad Mokaev back down to Brave FC to go work on his striking. And they said, Manel, you just lost a fight, so you ain't getting a title shot, buddy. So I should be sitting here with an absolute perfect opportunity to hedge off of a 10 to 1 or better futures ticket and guarantee myself some money in this spot, which was the plan all along. And instead, I have 2 futures tickets that are both dead because fuck you, that's why. So I'm a little frustrated about this fight. I have tried to make the argument betting against Alexandre Pantoja for quite some time. I've bet against him in his last 3 fights. Morono, Royval, Ursig. I took all 3 shots against him. Ursig was 1 round away and literally 1 bad decision in the 5th round away from winning that fight. It was 2-2 going into 5. And if he had just not engaged in the grappling, he wins a 3-2 decision. Brandon Royval needed 1 more round. Pantoja was completely out of gas, and Brandon Royval was coming on hard at the end of that 5th round, but he ran out of time. The split decision with Brandon Moreno, it was a close, competitive fight, and I can't be too mad at it because, frankly, either guy could have won. It was phenomenal. Pantoja has showed that he is just the best fighter in the world at this weight class, you guys. I have to come out and say it. I have to admit it. He finds ways to win. And that is a championship quality, Brady. The fact that this guy can strike with anybody, the fact that he's got knockout power, the fact that he's got cardio, and even when he has those moments of weakness, even when the cardio looks like it's going to fail him and he's right on the verge of losing it, he finds a way to get to your back and buy himself just 2 or 3 minutes of back control to go ahead and seal around. He does what he needs to do to get the win. And it's impressive as shit. It's impressive as shit that he's able to do that. Paul Verrett pissing me off in the chat. Those were just bad bets. No, they fucking weren't. Don't even tell me that. If you've got a plus 200 underdog who makes one bad decision in the 5th round of a title fight to lose. You're telling me that was the wrong side? Get the fuck out of here with that bullshit. The split decision with Brandon Royval, a fight that probably should have gone my way. Get the fuck out of here with that. The Brandon Royval one, okay, I'll grant it enough. He probably didn't have enough in the tank, but the other two were great bets. Shut up. So, yeah, man, I have learned to respect Alexandre Pantoja the hard way. Betting against Pantoja has been the worst angle of mine of all time. I just seem to always find the absolute goats of the world, and I bet against them every opportunity I get, and it costs me week in and week out. But the UFC is finding somebody new because Pantoja has cleaned out this division, and on his way up, he fought everybody that's in title contention. So it's all rematches for him, and he's sick of fighting the same people over and over. Kai Asakura is coming to us at 31 years old from Japan, top team, and this guy is big. He's physical, and he's a monster on the feet. 3 wins by knockout, but he is kind of void defensively speaking. He's life and death on the feet. So when he loses, it's also by KO. He's got 3 knockout losses on his record. You know, most recently, he knocked out Juan Archuleta, a guy that I was actually very high on from the PFL, no, Bellator. Sorry, since they merged, I get them mixed up. I actually really like Juan Archuleta, and I've made money betting on him when he was on his Bellator run pretty well. Seems like he's fallen off a little bit, but it's a very notable and impressive knockout win for Kai Asakura coming over here to the UFC. I just think this fight is going to be violent, Brady. We've got the old gloves. These guys are going to go out there to make a point. You've got Alexandre Pantoja, who is training with someone who's fought Kai not once, but twice. They are 1-1. Kyoji Horiguchi is who I'm referring to, you guys. And I think they are going to have a plan here for Asakura. It's going to come down to the cardio, the physicality, and I think someone's going to sleep. Kai is a guy that doesn't like to get paid by the minute. He likes to attack the body, but I don't know that he can grapple with a guy like Pantoja. Pantoja is not afraid to stand in the pocket and go after somebody. I could see him getting a little cocky in this spot and maybe overlooking an opponent like an Asakura to some extent and trying to, you know, make a statement and getting clipped and hurt. We've seen Pantoja rocked and wobbled a couple different times. He does always manage to come back one form or another. I just kind of like violence in this fight. I don't see it lasting very long, frankly. I know the 2.5 is over -130, but I actually kind of like the even money on the under 2.5. And I will say Pantoja retains his title. I think he probably clubs and subs him.
Yep, I love violence here quite a bit, and I like Pantoja a lot, I think. Yeah, I think it's going to be a violent fight, but Pantoja is going to have a lot of advantages here. For one, I think he's fought the much better competition. He has 5-round experience. I don't think Asakura has seen a 4th round ever, so I think that's huge. Asakura also hasn't cut down to flyweight in a very long time. I think the last time was like years ago at this point, so the weight cut might be a lot for Asakura also. And yeah, so durability, I think, is major here because one guy has durability. That's Pantoja. Pantoja's never been finished. He's very, very tough, very hard to get out of there. Some of the shots he was eating against Steve Erceg, like this guy just has a brick for a head. I like that. Whereas with Kai Asakura, like his durability is certainly in question. We've seen this guy finish in 3 of his 4 losses by knockout. So I think Pantoja is live to hurt him on the feet. And then the big thing here for me is just the grappling. I have a strong suspicion that if this fight hits the mat, Pantoja might just go right through him. Pantoja is a phenomenal grappler, one of the best grapplers in the division. If he gets your back, like it's over more times than not. And he has went to decision in these last couple fights, but Steve Erceg, like this guy's a black belt. Brandon Royval, really good grappler, black belt. Same thing with Brandon Moreno. I just have a feeling if he gets this fight down to the mat and gets the back here, I think this fight's going to be over shortly after. So I like Pantoja. I like Pantoja inside the distance, and I like the unders as well. Because if Asakura is winning this fight, it's going to be by knockout. He's not winning a 25-minute decision. I think that's completely off the table. I think if he does win this fight, he's going to be the first person to knock out Pantoja. And maybe it happens because Pantoja is willing to eat a shot to give a shot. So
absolutely.
Yeah, so I think violence is the way to go here. I'm going to be looking at the fight doesn't go in the alternate unders. Even right there with you, don't mind that under 2.5. I think it's going to be chaotic from the jump.
I love it. I think you're absolutely right. I think we see a violent fight where both guys come out swinging, and I wouldn't be shocked at all if Asakura does knock Pantoja out. I've been betting on somebody to dethrone the guy for a while. He's big. He hits hard. It's totally possible. I think Pantoja is the best in the world at this point. Like I said, I learned the hard way, so I'm going to go ahead and admit that. And I do think he finds a way to win, but it probably is a finish because I don't see him letting this guy off the hook if he gets the opportunity. And Kai just likes to brawl, man. So I hope we get a very entertaining main event this week, and that is UFC 310, you guys. Thank you all very much for joining me here. I didn't mention it at the top of the show, but it is my birthday episode, you guys. Yesterday, 37 years old as of yesterday. I know. I look better than 37, but getting old, feeling old, and I appreciate each and every one of you being here for this one. I am hoping we've got some birthday luck coming down the pipe here for this week's card. If there was ever a week to have some extra luck, it would be my birthday card. So Brady, thank you for coming in here on short notice and talking to me here about this fight, man. This was fun breaking it down. It's always fun breaking it down with you. So appreciate the hell out of you, man. Where can people find you and where can they support you and your content?
Yeah, happy late birthday, man. Hopefully you enjoyed it. 37, still very young. I like it. Twitter, DFS_numbers. YouTube is DFS by the numbers. Me and Weezy go live every Sunday for some stat diggers that do a show called Best Bet. It's gonna be the season finale coming up this week because next week I'll be heading out to Tampa in the sun and enjoying the Tampa Bay card. I think it's Joaquin Buckley versus Colby Covington main event next week. So going to be enjoying that. But yeah, Clint, thanks for having me on. Always down to come in on short notice, always prepared because I have a show on Sunday. So thanks for having me on.
You guys are absolutely awesome. Weezy and Brady, the best in the business, and always down to come on and talk fights with me. Love people waking up early in the week and getting ready to go. So real quickly, you guys, I do have one other thing to announce. And so my contract with Home of Fight is up at the end of the year. And as of now, I am not sure what that means for my future. We had a contract going through the end of the year, and to this point, it looks like maybe the business is going in a different direction, I guess is maybe the right way to say it. It's not due to anything as far as poor performance. I know I'm having just the absolute worst year of my life, and people are going to spin it like I'm getting cut because I suck at betting, but that's actually not at all what happened. Just kind of a difference in business direction, things like that. So it's not going to be quite the same, which means the podcast will be moving starting January 1st. As of right now, it is looking like the podcast is going home. Guys, it's been 6 years. I started this podcast when no one had any idea who the hell I was, and you guys all started supporting me and listening. And that YouTube channel has not been touched since I got started because I've basically had a sponsor home since that time. So we've never gone back to my old YouTube channel, and it might be time to dust it off and kind of branch out on my own and see what we can do with this thing solo. That might be the move. So as of right now, that's the direction that it is looking. If you search for the Die Hard MMA podcast on YouTube, you should be able to find my channel. It's pitiful at this point. I've only got like 2,000 subscribers on it because, like I said, I just haven't done anything with it, haven't used it forever. If you guys want to head over there and subscribe, I would very much appreciate it. If something changes, obviously, between now and then, I will let you guys know. But it is looking like I'm going to be flying solo starting 2025. So appreciate you guys, appreciate all the love, and appreciate Home of Fight. I appreciate the opportunity. It's one of those situations where it's business. There's no hard feelings. So it just kind of is what it is. And we're going to make the best of it no matter what moving forward. So if you guys would please continue to support me, I would appreciate that. That would be a big deal for me. So please go and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Don't jump ship. Don't abandon Home of Fight. They're doing good, making great content, got a lot of good people signing with the company and things like that. So it's not like a, burn the house down, F you on my way out the door type of situation. Don't think that. Just wanted to let you guys know and give you a little bit of advance notice. So that way, when my podcast does move, it's not a lot of people who are going, what the fuck, man, where'd your show go? Because that happens every time. When I moved over from Pub to Home of Fight, there were people that we lost for like 3 months. So I'm letting you guys know a little bit early that it's coming down the pipe this time. So that's what's going on. And I see the comments here. You guys, love you guys, appreciate all the support. Thank you for subscribing, and thank you for the loyalty for sure. You guys are absolutely awesome. Paul says this just like the movie Homeward Bound, except hopefully less dogs die at the end of it. Oh, geez. I haven't watched that movie. Oh, wait, the dog doesn't die. Brady, they fake it. They fake you out in that movie. You think the dog dies, and then he like comes trotting over the hill at the end of the movie. I haven't seen that.
Classic.
Classic movie. All right. Thank you guys so much for enjoying the show. Appreciate you being here. Audio listeners, you don't have to do a damn thing. Just keep downloading. The show doesn't move for you ever. Come on YouTube, hang out for a little bit. But really appreciate you guys. Good luck this week. Let's whip some ass. We've only got 2 more events this year. And the biggest thing at this point is to get on track for 2025. 2024 is a lost year for me, you guys. I'm as bad as the New York Jets this season. It's a rebuild. We're just going to try to get some positivity going here at the end of the year and then build off of that going into next year. That's the move. Thank you again for coming on the show, Brady. Appreciate you, man. Let's get out of here. Love you guys. Let's roll.